Hello, guys and girls. Welcome to episode 86 of the FReality Podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. You can tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in central US. You can also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Anchor. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or leave us a nice review on iTunes, because that would really help us out. I hope everyone's having a nice weekend so far, and thanks to those that are joining us live in the chat today. We really appreciate you getting involved with the discussion with us every week. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback during the show, please put them in the chat. We'll try and answer as many questions as we can. Now it's time for me to introduce you to the team. And first up, this guy likes to roll the dice and throw speculation to the wind. He also enjoys eating VR head straps for breakfast. It's, of course, Nathie. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Do I need to explain myself here, or?
He's getting hungry. He's getting hungry.
You can, or maybe we can talk about it later. Up to you.
No, I can. Let's say that I predicted that Arizona Sunshine was coming to the Oculus Quest, or is still coming to the Oculus Quest, because even after me showing off as a fool on the internet this week, I still think it's coming. I still feel like it. But in the end, I said, like, if I'm wrong, I will eat a head strap. So
what is the time frame on that? I mean, it
30
could
days.
still become three years and counting. It could.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. I thought it was going to be a launch title, but maybe it's going to happen later. I don't know. But I just feel like it's happening. But people say that it's not possible. That it's too much of a big game to.
So can we confirm this now for our dedicated viewers that if it's not a launch title, that you'll eat a head strap live on the FReality Podcast?
Sure. I
First
can't,
podcast in June.
Yeah, but I can't physically swallow it, but I'm happy to chew on it. Okay, that's all I can do.
Actually, like fellow people in Guinness World Book Records, right? People have honestly eaten a Cessna, a small plane. So trust me, you can digest a headset strap. It is humanly possible, and I believe, sir, that you have committed yourself to this very task.
If I cut it into little pieces, maybe with some yuppie sauce, I could do that. But.
Yeah. Well, you already hold one Guinness World Record, right, in VR. So this could be your second.
That's true. This could be my comeback into the next.
If you're particularly hungry, you just continue on and eat the whole headset, and you'll be the first man alive ever to have consumed a headset full.
Actually, the chat is giving some suggestions. 360 Live says, get a blender. You can get a VR agent.
I'm sure I can blend my strap and then eat it.
Yeah. Okay, well, enough of Nathie eating his head strap, but maybe we'll touch on this more later on. Next up, this guy is a true Archon. When he's not forging keys, he's exploring the virtual worlds. So, resident VR Twitch streamer, Zimtok5, how are you doing, man? You all right?
I'm a fantastic man right now, Mike. I've had a lovely week of reconnecting with my wife and spending extra time with her and the kids. And after the bank holiday weekend last weekend, it's just like, it's nice when you get that extra bit of family time in there. So that plus having hit a whole bunch of different headsets, having played around with the Oculus Go this week, just reinvigorates me for new headsets coming. So just super enthused at this stage,
Awesome. Good to hear it. By the way, like, if you want to, make a nice meme out of Zim with his, green screen in the background, feel free to do so. Post them, share them with us via Twitter. That would be hilarious. So pull a face, Zim, for... Oh, God, no. Okay. Let's move on. You don't want to know what happened in the audio. So next up, when he's not educating us about science, he's winning chicken dinners in Pavlov. It's, of course, the Rowdy guy. How you doing, man? You all right?
I'm all right. I'm doing great. Yeah. I've been actually quite busy this week, so I don't have a lot to talk about. Nothing interesting, at least. I've just been hard at work. The PhD is nearly done, so looking forward to finishing that one off finally.
Nice.
So many years. Oh.
Nice. A lot of people enjoyed your science segment on last week's show, so we're definitely going to do more of that. We heard your feedback, so we'll probably try and do it maybe once a month or something like that.
Maybe even more, depending on the amount of time that I get, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. I think a lot of us found it really interesting, and it's nice to sort of learn something as well, you know, during the show. So yeah, props for that. If you don't know who I am, I'm Mike, host of the show from Virtual Reality Oasis. We've got a packed show for you today. We're going to be giving you the details on the new Arizona Sunshine DLC coming soon. Nathie's going to let us know if playing Mario Odyssey on the Nintendo Labo VR is any good. Zim's going to give you the lowdown on the latest releases to look forward to next week. And finally, we'll be giving you our predictions for what to expect from Facebook F8, which is going live on Tuesday. But first up, let's find out what everyone's been playing and their highlight of the week this week. And let's pass it over to Nathie first to see what he's been up to.
Well, next to Mario Odyssey, I haven't been playing that much.
Okay, we'll save Mario Odyssey for later.
Yes. This is my favorite part of the podcast, where Mike tells people okay, tell us what you've been playing this week. We all know this question is coming, but I have to say it's wonderful whenever I see Nathie's face turn that lovely shade of feck. I didn't quite play enough. I don't have anything other than what we're dedicated to talking about later. What am I going to put in here now? What am I going to slot in here? Something will come up.
Let me tell you that at the start, when Mike was always asking me this question, I was just having my channel open so I could see what I played, because I'm so busy that I sometimes even forget what I played. So I was like, oh, I played this, and that's how I usually pulled it off. No, something else that I did play, and it's an hour ago, so this is fresh. I built my last Labo kit. It's the camera, the underwater camera, with, yes, the goggles that someone else can wear. And it's so cool. It's amazing. Yes.
I'm confused. Underwater camera, cardboard, wait, what?
Yeah. So you have the camera, and then this is a co-op experience once again. So one person is wearing these underwater goggles, this snorkel, and then the one with the Labo kit, the camera, can see this person in VR as a fish, and then you can make a photo of this person popping up, and it's well tracked. You know, this person can move forward, backwards, and shake his head a little bit. It's super fun.
And this is the thing, I've seen it, but I'd never built it. But basically, it's it looks like a pair of cardboard glasses, right?
Yes.
And then it's got these reflective plastic stickers on there. So that's what the Labo kit uses to sense its position. And then you can take pictures.
Yeah, so you can play it together. So there is a lot more in the box than just these regular Labo kits. There are upgrades you can use. I think there's even this little windmill that you can build for your toy con bird. And then you can use, you can blow against it and it will activate an effect too. Maybe you can fly faster or something. So there is more than meets the eye in the box.
Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't do those additional ones because by that point, I'd probably already spent about 8 hours constructing cardboard things. I was kind of done. So I was I'm just going to stick with the main ones. But yeah, so you haven't built the little windmill one yet?
No, I'm still trying to find it in this messy box now because it's almost empty. But it's one of my favorite things to show off to people when they come by. Because it's so colorful and it kind of pops. So it's one of my go-tos right now to show VR with.
It's just very accessible, isn't it? You know, everyone can just get in it and understand it. It's kind of designed for kids anyway, so everything's very simple to understand and intuitive. So it kind of makes sense. Yeah. Nice. So is that the last bit that you've finished building now, or? Yeah.
And it's funny, these goggles, I thought they're pretty easy to make, right? It took me another 20 minutes. It's unbelievable. You underestimate how much time it's taking to make this stuff.
Yeah, and you're going to be talking more about the Nintendo Labo because you're going to be talking about your experience with Mario Odyssey later on, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well let's pass it over to Zim then and find out what you've been playing this week, if you've been playing anything at all.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing for me is readying for Quest and getting my streaming wireless stack ready for the Oculus Go, which works. So that's freaking fantastic. Because basically, for those who don't know, the innards of a Go and the innards of a Quest are quite similar. So we expect, I should say, the stream stack to be the same. And so that'll be fun. Played a few things on there. I'll highlight, let's say 1.5 games. So I did play Covert with my wife, which was loads of fun. And I know you guys, Nathie and Mike, you guys got to play that together. So I think that's a known, people know that's great already. But I would concur. But I played a game that I passed up on the Go store. And I don't often, in the releases section, talk about Go games. This didn't release that long ago, but I'd seen it on the store. It had kind of a funky name, and I was like, that's weird. And I just passed it by. But on the recommendation by Ramarcus, who's the biggest YouTuber for Go content and just hit 10K. Congratulations, Marcus.
Congrats.
I played this game called EQQO, EQQO, which when you see it written, is written in a really strange way. It's like a third-person follow a blind boy around who's carrying the egg of a snake god game. If you've ever played one of those games before, then please post the name of that game in chat. But EQQO, again, EQQO, was really nice. It had a kind of a Zelda feel to it. I didn't know about this game. The audio design, the puzzles, were like really satisfying, and I'm really keen to go back to it. I only played it for about an hour, but it's definitely one of those that I think a lot of people will probably look at, and because the name is kind of weird, just pass it by. And I would recommend people to try it out if you like single-player experiences. So that one really shone for me. And then there's something I played yesterday that I just have to mention because I played tennis for about 10-15 years. Like my dad was a huge tennis nut, and big into that. And this first-person tennis simulator dropped, and I was like, this is gonna be so shite. I've done all kinds of things. I've done VR regatta and all these different simulators that just they never feel right. They really try hard, and then they just don't quite make it. But I have to say, the physics and the feeling of the game, not for single player, I'd say, but if you were going to play another human, I think it would feel really fair. I haven't done that yet, and that's my next objective, is to go play with a human. But everything from doing the bounce of the ball, to the serve, to the court size, to the way that when you swing, like it's a proper simulator, and you can swap between arcade and sim modes. And there's even a few running modes that are really interesting, like a momentum where you're running to the ball using the analog stick, or when the ball drops, almost like, again, arcade simulators, you teleport and then you're ready already in the right spot to either backhand it or forehand it. But I just wanted to call it out because when I looked at the screenshots of it, I was like, oh, this looks great, but it's going to be terrible, as I was thinking in my head. And then I played it, and the only restriction I really had is the fact that above my head, I have a previously shattered light bulb. No, it's been replaced since, but I have been known to, in my room, doing an overhead swing, smash my light bulb, which is a bared light bulb sitting up there. So I didn't want to do that again. So I felt really restricted in this space. I'm going to set it up in my Vive room. It's about $20 on Steam, US. And if anyone's a tennis fan and has a friend afar who also is a tennis fan, I'd say both get the game and play it. I think it's going to be the kind of game like poker players where you want to socially sit back and play with someone from afar. That's what I felt. I felt like this is going to be really good for people to actually have a bit of a go. Not super physically involved. It's not going to get you the same heart rate as like Beat Saber, but you'll be moving around. And I thought it was worth a mention. So that was first-person tennis.
So if I don't have any friends, then I should play selfie tennis instead, I feel like.
Selfie tennis is fucking weird, man. Selfie tennis, if you haven't seen it, is like these giant ball people, and you're hitting them with tennis balls, and every so often your ball changes. Weird. It's the wackiest game, and all of their games are wacky.
You can play with yourself.
You can play with yourself on the other side of the court, and you just teleport back and forth. So yes, to your question, it's probably a more satisfying single-player experience.
I don't think that's what Nathie meant.
Oh, I keep that one in the middle for now.
How far, was that 6 minutes in? Jesus.
Sorry.
So with this game, would you say it's more sim than arcade, or a bit of both?
Yeah, it definitely, if you don't know anything about tennis and tennis swings and all that, I think it'll kind of catch you off guard. But if you know a little bit, or you've hit a ball around a court, then you'll feel right with the game. And that's what got me, because getting that feeling of like hitting the ball physics, the different swings, and when you're going to make it or miss it, it felt spot on with my tennis experience, which means like even the near net shots, which are going to drop short, felt right from swing to net. So I was really impressed with the physics. But yeah, more sim than arcade, for sure.
And I think this game is only on Steam, right?
That's the only... I've only seen it on Steam. I think I played it on Oculus Home, though. So Oculus Home and Steam. Yeah, because I picked it up there because of our white label.
Okay, cool. Okay, then cool. What about you then, Rowdy? What did you play this week, dude?
Yeah, I actually played 2 games. One was a bit with Zim. I played some Contractors. Still love that game. Still think it's one of the best shooters out there. And then I also played quite a bit of Pavlov again. Very different, I think, both titles. I still see Contractors as more like the competitive kind of like scene a bit more. It requires a bit more of that edge and that skill, I think. With Pavlov, I mean, there's a lot of people that are playing competitive Pavlov as well, of course, but the way that I play it is still more for like fun, like the TTT maps or the Battle Royale, or like just messing around in the game. And they've done some awesome updates in that game in Pavlov. So yeah, definitely want to give those guys a shout out. New gun models, new maps, looks pretty impressive.
Nice. It's funny because I think I caught some of Zim's Contractors stream the other day, and I saw that you were playing with the force tube, and the clack 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 of the force tube is so satisfying when you hear that sound like on stream. The
best part is when I'm playing like an exercisey game like that, I'll wear a lav mic, and the thing is when it's right here next to the lav, it comes through as like it sounds like a mill sim, and you're like clack 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 clack. Like it's fantastic. I agree with you. The audio is as good as you'd want it to be in production.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool.
I also asked what the chat played this week.
Sure, go for it.
I've seen a lot of stuff actually popping up. I've seen people playing Orbus VR Reborn. I know that they did an update as well recently, so it looks like a lot of people have been enjoying.
I'll cover it a little
bit
later.
All right, cool. Beatron on the go, an Egypt 360 experience. I hope that is not the one that we covered.
Oh God, no.
Was it Tomb Slayer?
Tomb Slayer.
And then I saw that Paradise Decay played Ninja Legends and Space Ops VR. I first read that as a Space Oops, which sounds like a very different game. Okay. City of Heroes by Z-Treek. Jamie Cruz played Expect You to Die. Slightly Heroes I see as well. Audica, Assetto Corsa. So there's a lot of different kind of games that actually, which is awesome to see, because I know in the beginning when we asked these kind of questions, it was always like the same game, but you can see there's like variety now popping up. People still playing like Nick Apos playing Fallout 4 VR and Final Assault. Red Dead Redemption, that's not a VR game, but okay. That's okay if you still play that. But yeah, I think those are... Oh, and Aaron Thompson on Facebook played Slightly Heroes on the go, and he really enjoyed the Facebook 3D photo integration with the Oculus browser on the go as well. Spend a while going through those. So
nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you enjoy Slightly Heroes on the go, then me and Nathie are actually in-game characters in there.
Yeah.
If you use, tag VR Oasis or Nathie, then you'll unlock both of us.
It's like three letters, I think. NAT and...
VRO. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, or OAS maybe. I'm not sure. But try
Mike doesn't remember his own
Did you
code
say
anymore.
OAP, Mike? OAP for old age pensioner? Is that it?
Yeah, that's more right. I've got Alzheimer's or something. I can't remember. But yeah, like a bit like some of you guys, I didn't really play much this week. I've been having a bit of a rest because I know that the next few months are just going to be absolutely crazy for all of us. We've got, the Quest, we've got the Rift S, we've got the Valve Index coming, and we're going to be covering them all. So it's going to be a very busy time for us all. So this is like kind of the quiet before the storm, I feel. So this is the last chance you've got to have a bit of a relax. So I did go and see Avengers Endgame. I won't talk about it, but I'll just say that I really enjoyed it. But one thing I do want to talk about, I thought would be worth sharing, is that I've been testing out something for the last few weeks with the original Oculus Rift, and that is this, which is, I'll show you the camera now.
Extender.
It's a Virtual Link Adapter for the original Oculus Rift. So basically what this does is it reduces the HDMI and USB port from the Oculus Rift into a single USB-C connector.
Nice.
So if you've got one of those new NVIDIA graphics cards with a virtual link port, which is like a USB-C port, you can buy this cable to adapt it so you don't have to use a HDMI and a USB on your PC. So
what cards at the moment have that adapter? Because I don't think I have them on mine. I'm on 1080.
Yeah, so it's just the new 20 series graphics cards from NVIDIA are the first ones to adopt it in their new range of cards. But they're part of a consortium with AMD, Oculus, HTC, Microsoft, all the big players in the industry basically have all agreed that this will be the standard moving forward. But it's just that no one's really released a headset with this as the standard connection just yet because the
And
cards.
it doesn't seem like there's gonna be one anytime like soon, right?
No, but what I'd like to see is that, HTC and Oculus and all the big players, they, incorporate adapters themselves in the box, so you don't have to
That'd be
worry,
the best
about
way
these,
forward, yeah.
these third-party solutions. But, Acel, in the meantime, are creating this adapter for the Rift. Also works on Windows mixed reality, by the way. I've got the cable here, so I can quickly just show you the connections, what they kind of look like. So if I just hold it up to the camera here, you can see the HDMI and the USB 3.0, and then the USB-C style connector at the end. The cool thing is that it also adds a 2.5 meters extension to your cable as well, which is about 8 feet. So you have more cable slack to play with as well. And I've been using it for the last 3 weeks with the Rift, and it's been great. And the thing is, when I think about it, it's it's just such a shame that we've still got all these sensors plugged in to other USB ports on our computer. So I reached out to Acer. I said, look, Rift is obviously discontinued now. They're not going to make any more. So, your product is kind of a bit late to market in terms of its life cycle. So really you should be focusing on, the next iteration, which is of course the Rift S. But of course the Rift S uses DisplayPort. So it's not going to be compatible with this adapter. But I said, it would be nice if you released a DisplayPort version of this for the new headset. And they did actually reply and said they are considering it, making an adapter that would be compatible with both the Rift S and also the HTC Vive Pro, because both use DisplayPort. And then I thought about it, that would be so cool, because then all you'd have is one single USB-C connector to your PC with the Rift S, because it's got inside-out tracking, and that's it. So, you free up all your USB ports, everything else. So that would be super nice. So they're considering it, but
with the Vive Pro, isn't there also a power cable to the link box?
Yeah, but potentially it would be enough power output through USB-C to power it as well. So that would be super interesting. I know that there's some solutions using sort of cards to power these as well.
Yeah, I would love to see one adapter for all headsets, and then you could just plug everything in there you want.
Yeah, exactly. That's another good bonus about this, is that you could have my Rift plugged into the USB-C connector, and then the Vive Pro connected through DisplayPort.
Or like a switcher, where it's I'm now going to use this. It's of course for the VR enthusiast, but I did use my link box from the Verse 5 for a while, and it worked with the Rift one too. But of course with the Vive Pro one, it's not. You can't do that anymore because it's a different connection.
But a lot of these, Mike, and looking at the connectors that you were showing, most graphics cards ship with an HDMI to DVI or things like that, those little short adapters. So no doubt you could, with the Rift S or whatever, convert and just do that. So you just daisy chain and get right into the box as if you were HDMI. You know what I mean?
I don't know if that exists for HDMI and USB, because both of them have to go through the same.
But because it's a 2-to-2 mapping. We're not talking about trying to merge two into one connector. I'm just saying that your problem is that instead of it being DisplayPort connecting, you want DisplayPort to HDMI, which usually ships in graphics card boxes. Those little, or they go for a $10 in a PC shop. So you might actually, if you're a current Rift owner, this product, is it already on sale, Mike? I assume you can get it.
Yeah, it's already on sale. It's $49 US, which is kind of expensive. But if you've already spent a lot of money on a new RTX card or whatever. I actually don't think it's that expensive, because for an 8-foot extension cable, or to make your own up, it's still going to cost you 35-40 quid to do that. So actually, if you think about it as being an extender, giving you that extra room scale space, it's just right on. Yeah, when the Rift S, when we eventually get one, I will experiment with using an adapter from DisplayPort to HDMI to see if it works. I'd be super curious. I never even considered that as an idea, actually. So I will try that out for you.
But otherwise, it works, because I didn't hear that from you. So you're happy with it? It works well?
Oh yeah, for the original Rift, perfect. It's a great little solution, especially if you've got one of the newer cards. Just because you don't have all those things coming out your PC, and it's just such a small, slimline little connector.
Can I scare with a statistic just for a second? When I had my PSVR up here and had my my Rift and my Vive in the same room, into the same PC, I was using 18 USB ports in one machine. That's the level it got to. And then I started to kind of move stuff out of this room, but it feels so freeing. This is the most nerdy thing in the world, I think, Mike. But it feels so freeing to free up 1 or 2 more USB ports or 3. Like, it just feels like this is candy now. It's so weird.
I think I'm currently at that level as well. Like, I mean, especially if I because I have like 2 PCs, like one for one for gaming, one for recording. So I think I'm like way over that in terms of like used USB ports, because I even have like a USB hub, like where I have I think eight different slots.
That's crazy.
I really don't know how you manage 2 PCs. Like, it's bad enough on 1 PC.
But if you get into the flow, it gets a lot easier.
Yeah.
I just can't wait for the moment in time USBs don't exist anymore. How about that? I hate USBs.
Just everything wireless.
Yes, please.
So that is what we played this week. So let's move into some quick news then. And the first bit of quick news is some cool news from Vertigo Games, the creators behind the VR zombie shooter Arizona Sunshine and the VR strategy series Skyworld.
Are they coming to Quest or?
Well, Nathie knows apparently, so we'll talk more about that later. But what we know for sure, confirmed by the developers, is that Arizona Sunshine will be getting some more DLC content in a new expansion called The Damned. This is the second DLC pack that they've released for the game. The first one was called Dead Man, which I played and I wasn't overly impressed with. I don't know about you guys.
With the rocket launch, right?
That's right, yeah.
I don't know. The best.
Cool to play it in the arcade because they had with like a backpack and and you could like walk around. Then it was actually cool, but in terms of like just like as an add-on to the game, it was a little bit disappointing. Yeah.
I totally agree with you. That's a really solid point, actually, because they showed the Dead Man DLC as part of the location-based experience at Gamescom and some other events. And like you said, Rowdy, it was really great. Like some of the mechanics they used in that experience were like I've never seen before in VR. Physically having to step over a gap, in a broken lift shaft and feeling that sense of height was really next level because they had this huge play space you could move around freely in. But yeah, the actual like DLC you got to play at home was kind of a bit disappointing because they didn't really introduce any new mechanics and there was only like a couple of new weapons.
But I like Arizona Sunshine is quite an old game. It's like one of the first ones that came out. Didn't it like launch in 2016?
Yeah, and I think the other thing as well was that you were mainly indoors in the DLC in a military sort of bunker, like you say, trying to launch a nuke to try and stop the zombie outbreak. It was really dark and drab inside, whereas the original game was very bright and vibrant outside in the desert between the canyons, and it was kind of like an interesting setting to be in, but not so much in the DLC. But this new DLC called The Damned, which Vertigo Games state is their biggest expansion yet, it will actually be a prequel to the original game and the Dead Man DLC, and places you on a mission where you're tasked with reactivating the generators of a hydroelectric dam, hence the name, The Damned. Kind of interesting spin on the name.
Cringy.
But basically, you power the dam to then power the military base, which then launches the nuke in the Dead Man DLC. So this is kind of exactly just before that part of the game took place.
Wait. Who are we launching the nuke at again?
The zombies, pay attention.
No, I honestly, the reason I was snickering earlier, because Mike's like, oh, we were launching this missile at the zombies. I've played through Arizona Sunshine, like straight through in one session, which was a long day. And I don't remember that at all. All I remember is shooting some Zeds. So, maybe the story wasn't as strong. I love the voice acting, though. The voice acting in that game is awesome.
The story in the original, because I played the full one, was actually that you have a radio that is broadcasting something of... you go and look out for like something that is like a safe zone. You go on the lookout for that. And there's a radio station that you need to go and look for.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that there is still a demand for DLC for this game.
Yeah, like I welcome it. Although I didn't particularly enjoy the last expansion, I hope this one is a bit more interesting. Maybe it has some new mechanics in there. It's co-op as well, which is always fun if you've got a buddy to play with.
Good.
And this really Arizona Sunshine alongside Killing Floor Incursion. They both stand as like the best zombie shooters you can play in VR. I think, especially because both are co-op as well. So if you've got a buddy to play with, highly recommend playing both of them.
And it was one of the first that really hit like how to do like the shooting mechanic in VR.
And reloading and stuff like that as
and
well.
Reloading, it really felt so satisfying in that game. And it wasn't easy either to aim and shoot.
And it's one of the only games on PlayStation VR that use the aim controller.
Ah, that's an interesting point. I didn't know that. The DLC will, of course, be coming to PSVR as well, alongside Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, and Windows MR headsets, and will be dropping this summer. So, worth keeping an eye out if you're a fan of Arizona Sunshine. We've not got it confirmed that it's being released for the Quest yet, so you know.
there will be a day that everyone is like, "Oh, dang, he was right. But for now, I will play the full. Okay, no problem. I will eat a head strap to
he was right, and we made him eat a head strap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's even worse.
Just 2 days later, it's like the dude who's on like death row, and like 2 days after, like, oh, he wasn't guilty.
I can tell you, I got downvoted to Middle Earth on Reddit for bringing fake news, according to the community. But trust me, I would never bring fake news. It's spot on. I feel like maybe I should just break into their office. They are based in Netherlands, so technically, if I would just take a pair of binoculars with me and I would just wait for someone to put on a Quest or something, we got it confirmed.
I just hope that they're gonna be watching this podcast and hear Nathie say this, and then like make him like eat the head strap, and then like 1 minute after you ate it, oh, by the way, guys.
If they are watching the podcast right now, or they watch it later, they will just giggle because they know that I know. Or the other way around. I don't even know.
I want Vertigo Games to send you like a head strap. Like
out of plate. Yes, with yuppie sauce, please.
Yes. But yeah, enough of that. Let's move on to the next bit of quick news. And then we've got some congratulations in order this week, and that's for the team at Cyan. They're the developers behind Myst, Riven, and Abduction. Because I don't know if you're aware, but on the 26th of March this year, they launched a Kickstarter campaign for their latest adventure puzzle game called Firmament. Now, they had a really ambitious goal of $1.2 million, and it was looking a bit touch and go whether they were going to make it happen or not. But in the last sort of few days of the campaign, they managed to secure $1.4 million in crowdfunding, which is absolutely amazing for a crowdfunding campaign anyway, So congratulations to the team for pulling it off. If you're not aware, Firmament is going to be like a deeply immersive narrative adventure game for both VR and PC that stays true to the storytelling, artistic integrity, and inventive puzzles that Cyan holds dear. During the story, you'll have a helpful clockwork companion to assist you on your journey called an adjunct, which kind of reminds me of the kind of little companion in Destiny. I can't remember what it's called now. But you know what I mean? The little floating cube that kind of helps you out. That's kind of what it looks like. And although this game Firmament is designed and built from the ground up for VR, it's also going to be playable on a traditional screen as well. And I know that Zim is a huge fan of Cyan and their previous games, so maybe you can share some experience you've had with Abduction. And did you ever get to play the Firmament demo? I know some people did.
Yeah, so I think I talked about it a little bit on last week's podcast, but just as a reminder, so that little adjunct, I forget what I called it. It was something like a doggy or something, but it's like it kind of feels like your little best friend. And the level design of the alpha demo that they released to a couple of content creators was really nice. And I was kind of urging them. I was like, in the last hours, like, just get this thing out. If people play it, they'll put money to it, because there's already, like, when you hear like pre-alpha and you go and you play it, you're not expecting much. You're expecting some cubes and maybe some horrible sound, or maybe no sound. I've played demos with no sound before, but this was nothing like that. This was like, it felt like it was 80% of the way there, maybe lacking a little bit of graphical polish, but the puzzling and the environment, this feeling like you felt you were on the precipice of like either the Rocky Mountains or maybe Everest or something, along with all the mechanical pieces strewn about the level in such a realistic, believable way. And it's funny because in the demo you reach at one stage, you reach a lift, you reach an elevator, and this is like a thing that when you're playing Abduction, they love their elevators. There's elevators like of all different types scattered throughout the level, and I was like, oh yeah, it's the Cyan elevator, and it was just like, take me to Cloud 9 now. And then you go up to this bit, and you connect like these two what looked like Tesla like wireless power converters. And then all of a sudden, this door opens up and you get teleported almost in a very Charlie, was it the factory, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? At the end of that, the televator or whatever they have. So it felt a lot like that, but it got me super excited just in terms of the feeling and the kind of this emotional depth that you felt as you were playing the demo. And that was just a bloody demo. And I've played Abduction, and Abduction was fantastic. I never beat it because it's bloody long. But if you're looking for something to chew into while you're waiting for Firmament to come out, because it's going to be a while. Was it December next year or summer next year?
July 2020, yeah. Yeah,
July 20. Okay, so summer next year. But while you're waiting, there's at least a year's worth of content in Abduction.
So also, I think it's quite the achievement what they've done since. I mean, their funding goal was quite high. Like it was over $1 million, right? Mm-hmm. So I do think that, especially in these times when like a lot of people are saving up for their new headsets and you're not entirely sure what kind of headset they want to go to, so they're trying to save up their money, that they still managed to get such an enormous amount of money. I'm sure that they need it for such a game like that because they're pretty big developers. But to get such an amount of money is a pretty big win for virtual reality in itself as well, that people are still willing to invest in proven developers that we all know are going to make a great title. So I think it's a pretty good thing.
Of course, a part of the money that raised was, of course, not from people that save up for a Quest. I mean, there are so many also businesses and other that throw money at it, but it's good to see that people still have a little bit of money left to support a game that might be one of the best VR games of 2020.
Yeah, I'm kind of intrigued actually because Zim has played both Abduction and Firmament. Like, how do the two compare in terms of like the gameplay and the style of game? Like, is it fairly similar?
The major difference is like I'll harken this back to Rowdy complaining about the gamepad mode of VR integration that is supported by Subnautica, right? So the difference between Abduction, where you go up to something and you're flicking a switch or pushing a button or changing a device or entering a code, feels very binary in terms of its input. It's less analog. The analog control scheme where you're basically controlling this hovering robot, right? And telling it to go certain ways, like go fetch that or go drop that bridge. The interaction with the different elements is VR touch control interaction. And so I think that's the lovely U-turn flip here, is that Abduction was 2D game ported to VR. This is designed for VR game, very obvious, and some lovely elements, even like a flag flapping in the wind that's rightly animated that you can look around. It's weird, but like shadows and things that are just moving in a certain fluid manner really convince you that you're there. So that's what I would say, is that the VR nature of this is, it's designed for VR, and you can tell.
Which is a very good thing.
Let's say you don't have access to this demo. They have a very nice trailer on YouTube that shows how beautiful it is, and it's very good.
Yeah, and also, if you missed the Kickstarter campaign and you're interested in this game, keep an eye on their website, because they've put a notice on their website that they're going to be opening up more ways to pre-order the game and help support the game's development, which will probably include pre-order bonuses like access to this demo that you guys tried.
I'll bet it will.
Yeah, so if you're interested in that, go and check out their website, the Cyan website. Like I said, this game is due to be shipped in July 2020 and will be available on PC, VR PC, and PSVR as well.
Okay.
I'll say one last thing there, Mike, because in terms of those pre-order bonuses in the demo and the point that I made to them, which was you have a really good demo, even if it's a bit crunchy around the edges, get it out there. People are going to want a taster. Don't hesitate. Write to Cyan Worlds, tweet at them, right? Say you want it. And like, people do respond when they hear stuff on social media. Don't think your voice doesn't matter. Your voice matters. So make yourself heard if you want something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So huge congratulations to the Cyan team for reaching their stretch goal. Looking forward to seeing more of Firmament in the future. Next up, the whole VR industry this week had some amazing exposure on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. So if you missed this, basically Jimmy Fallon had Brie Larson on the show, who plays the incredible Captain Marvel. And they decided during the show, whilst it was being aired live, to have an impromptu game of Beat Saber. And this was just so cool to see on like such a a prominent TV show in the US. And they had a nice mixed reality setup, using an HTC Vive and Live, and they played a round each of Beat Saber. I think Jimmy played $100 bills and he completely sucked at it, but he was having a good time. And then Brie
He did a nice spin though.
He did a nice spin, yeah, which was pretty impressive. But Brie, she just came in and absolutely nailed playing Escape on hard. So she's clearly played the game before. She's got some skills there. But yeah, like I said, millions of people around the US watch this show. So it was just really great to see VR get the spotlight on such, a great TV show like that. We had Ellen, like a year ago giving away Oculus Go's on her TV show again, which kind of VR in the spotlight. And raises more awareness about what VR can do and what it can offer. So it was super exciting to see.
I don't think it's the first time they have been playing with VR before, because they used it in like a game, like at the Fallon show before. But I do think with Beat Saber they went more effort went into that to make that happen. It's not like Jimmy Fallon or like his team picks this up and thinks like, let's do this. I think this was a shared, I think some money got spent to make this happen, basically. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But they did a really good job of it, because they showed it in mixed reality.
Yes, no, it's so
very
smart.
Good way of showing it off. They showed like a shorter clip, so that it was enough to keep people enticed and wanting more. So I think that was a very cool thing. And also, I was wondering if that was like trained in, or that that was something that was just like spontaneous when she was standing with her arms like stretched like that, and you could see like the lightsabers like burning holes in the floor like that. That looked so epic, especially in mixed reality. So
I also wonder what it would be like
good job
in the crowd, right? In Fallon's crowd, because you're basically watching people record into a green cube, and then on the monitors you must see the composition of the mixed reality. So
no, I don't think that's the case, because I know that Jimmy Fallon himself said also like, oh, that looks so cool when you put like the swords in things. So they must see, how it looks when she is holding it.
No, that's not what I mean. Like if you're compositing a weather show, the people sitting in the booth with they're gonna have a green screen behind them, and then you have this like side monitor which shows you what the composition actually looks like to the viewers. That's what I meant. Is that
yeah.
But it must have been really interesting, because it doesn't just only promote VR, it also promotes mixed reality and shows that audience how it actually works. Now that's not the millions of people who tuned in to watch the program, but I still think it'd be a very interesting story for you to go on Jimmy Fallon, see this stuff, and then go home and say, oh, I saw them do this bit, and that you might have inspired a couple of creators. You don't know.
Yeah,
it's true.
It's awesome to think that people that maybe saw the show are now excited to maybe check Beat Saber out themselves, and that in not that long now they'll have access to a standalone device that can play that game. So
I wish they went like, if Oculus spent some money on this, they could have promoted the Quest that way, and said like, listen, this is what you can do with it. It's this, like, I honestly, if I was doing the marketing, I would spend a big amount of money on just that instead of doing some other maybe commercials or stuff like that, like we've seen in the past, because this is like this went over the entire internet. It was everywhere, on Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, everywhere. It's amazing. It's so cool, and it shows that Beat Games is on top of their on top of the industry right now, showing how far you can take VR at the moment. I think every other development studio can only dream of this exposure. Like almost no one can pull this off, and it shows how matured Beat Games is as a company. And this is the marketing you want. It costs maybe a lot of money. I don't know how much it costs to get your game featured on Fallon.
I don't think it was Beat Games that paid up to have this featured on Jimmy.
No.
There's no way that they could afford that. But I think that whoever did pay for it, or whether it's just the fact that they think it's a cool game and want to give it some exposure, either way, it did great for everyone in the industry. I think to put VR in the spotlight for a little while. Because like you say, like there was memes created from the back of this, Brie being obviously Captain Marvel in the new movies, playing Beat Saber. There were some really cool like pictures made with her showing the lightsaber.
I saw that Victor Riddle made a very cool one.
Yeah.
But like it stings me, I gotta say, every time I see this, like, and I've got nothing against the HTC Vive, it's a good room scale experience, but seeing Vive every single time, like when my daily driver is Rift, is like, It's like people don't get it. It's like they're stuck in 2016 when Vive was like the shiz, and now
but the
I don't
thing
feel
is,
that way at all.
For mixed reality, the Vive is very solid to set up, and especially at a show like that, they like you always see the Vive. But mixed reality, I always see the Vive.
Well, there's no difference. Mike, you tell me. Like, is there any discernible difference in MR setups for Rift these days?
I think Nathie makes a good point in that for a TV studio show floor, the Vive is probably easier to set up purely because of the base stations.
I think
Yeah.
I was also
Okay.
going to say the base stations are easy to set up, but you have more coverage and more precise tracking.
Yeah, that would be the reason why.
And you can do the 10-foot cable to make sure it's perfectly in sync, and you get some guarantees with that setup that you don't get with the Rift. Yeah,
Exactly.
fair point, Nathan.
But great exposure nevertheless. And then the last bit of quick news this week is some kind of like really unexpected news. I never sort of saw this one coming. But if you're a fan of Peaky Blinders, you're going to be really happy with this because the BBC hit TV show Peaky Blinders is actually going to get a VR game next year.
Wait, Peaky Blinders?
I
Yeah.
know.
Sorry, I missed out on this because I'm from the Holland land, but
Clearly-
Peaky Blinders, please.
Sounds like a
please
home
explain
improvement
what
show.
is this.
It's like a home improvement show where they just change your curtains, right?
So I've got you covered if you don't know anything about Peaky Blinders. It's a British crime drama setting in Birmingham shortly after World War One, and basically follows the crime family called the Shelbys. And apparently the name Peaky Blinders, they're called that, the gang is called that, because they're renowned for apparently sewing razor blades into the peaks of their flat caps, and then they use those as weapons against their rival gang.
Oh.
Yeah. So,
to cut their eyes, right? Peaky Blinders. Yeah. That's lovely.
to cut them so they bleed into their eyes and then they're kind of blind.
I see. Okay. Got it. So the blood comes down, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I take it none of you guys have seen the show then.
No, never.
First thing I heard of it.
So I've never seen the show. I am aware of it. A lot of my friends actually watch it religiously and really enjoy the show. Apparently it's like a really great show. Not that I have enough time in my life to watch something else because I've got Game of Thrones and everything else going on right now as well.
One Punch Man.
Exactly. So yeah, I haven't seen it, but this new VR game is going to be made, and it's being developed by a London-based studio called Maze Theory. And we'll give you the opportunity to sort of experience this post-war Birmingham and join the Peaky Blinder gang. And if that wasn't interesting enough, there is something really cool about this that kind of makes it stand out from the crowd. And that is the developers, Maze Theory, they received a lot of funds from the British government to develop a new kind of AI, which will be used in virtual reality in this experience to make the experience more realistic. And basically, this new AI system will allow characters in-game to respond to the player's gestures, movement, and body language, making the experience completely different for every individual player.
Okay.
The executive producer at Maze Theory, a guy called Russell Harding, stated, "They will literally be part of Peaky Blinders' world and will be able to interact with characters in ways no one can predict. Fans of the cult show will have been calling out for this type of experience, and we're honored to be giving it to them. This is the future of entertainment." So, kind of a bold statement there. But yeah, Peaky Blinders will be coming to all VR platforms in 2020.
Oh, that sounds really cool. Like we went from chatbot to this. That's a big step right there.
Yeah, like this is awesome because we talked about using AI as well for character interactions and how that would work really well in VR. Someone that would respond to emotion in your voice or emotion in your movements and the way you move and gesture.
Yeah,
really interesting. And because we've talked about having sidekicks in VR before is a really nice mechanic in VR games. Like Robinson the Journey had that dinosaur. We talked about Firmament having this kind of like clockwork robot that kind of gives you help and advice. But using AI to add something to those would really take these experiences to the next level. I don't know what you guys kind of think about that.
I've never played something like that before, so I have no idea what the experience is like and how that would feel and how accurate it would be. And
I'm kind of happy for the experiment. I'm also very hesitant as a gamer of many years. I'm hesitant at any movie or TV tie-in because they're usually not great. But every so often you get a gem. So I hope they become the exception, and even if they don't, that they're a stepping stone for similar experiences. The only other part of my reaction to this would be similar to the data collection side. It's like, okay, you're sampling all that stuff, you're taking my emotion. What are you doing with that data? Someone out there is going to be asking that question. I don't necessarily care that much.
It will calculate your happiness and your depressions.
And then sell you happy pills, right?
Yeah, yeah, happy pills. Yeah.
Happy pills.
What did they say in Ready Player One? You know, we can put adverts over the screen up to 80% before players start having seizures, so it's okay.
Yeah.
That's IOI.
Oh yeah.
Don't be an IOI if you're a company out there developing VR hardware.
Oh yeah.
But just while we're talking about AI in VR, we did actually play a game, or some of us did, that used AI in a very smart way, and that was Starship Commander.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that previously on the show before, made by Human Interact, and they used AI to do voice commands really well. So you were a pilot of a starship, and you get to talk to your navigational commander and make decisions throughout the game just by giving voice commands alone. You don't actually touch a controller at all. Really cool little experience. Doesn't last very long, but it's a very good way of showing the concept of using AI in a smart way to have character interaction done really well in VR. So if you haven't checked that out, go and just look it up.
Where can people play that at the moment, Mike? Because I know it was kind of targeted at arcade, and they've shaped it up since I last played it. But is that available on the standard platforms? Do you know?
Not yet, no. I met the developer Alex PAX in Boston, and it's only available in arcades right now, but they are obviously planning to bring it to home users as well. But I think they just wanted to flesh it out a bit more before they gave it to home users, because I think it was a 15-minute experience. Although stand out, it was relatively short.
And I think their target was more 30 minutes for the final bit. But it was a very interesting piece of technology, and I think one of those things that even when we were trying it out at OC5 on the showroom floor, it was a bit like, I could take this tech and just port it into so many other titles, and it would be really nifty. So. Yeah. I'd be interested what they do with that technology stack that they've created. They've got a few interesting things that limit them showing it off on a show floor, which relate to how they cloud process internet. So they were running into that problem actually live on the show floor for PAX because of the amount of low latency data that they need to exchange with the server to process, which wasn't a thing that I think that affects most other games that are trying to show. And it's not easy to just ship all that processing equipment with you to the show floor. Usually people use people like Amazon services and that to do that cloud processing. So
imagine all those gigabytes flying through a virtual space when you show you're happy or sad.
Yeah, exactly. But you make a good point about a lot of this processing power will have to be done in the cloud because it just can't be done locally. It's too intensive. So it'll be interesting to see if Peaky Blinders VR experience will use cloud-based AI interactions as well.
It sounds so weird. It's like in the future you can just deliver a hard disk of your emotions.
There you go.
We got some input on that in the chat as well. We have someone saying that they're also trying Fred Caserta. He's now looking to do a first responders kind of experience as well. So they're trying to make something like that for first responders in order to better prepare them.
Like training, you mean? Like training them for that emergency situation.
Yeah. Amazing.
And also, I saw that Joshua Johnston mentioned that if Maze Theory can pull it off, that would work wonders for educational therapy apps for things like autism as well, where you're helping people to learn, understand emotion. I think we talked about this a little while as well, where indeed, virtual reality, especially in a research setting, is used quite a bit. My first experience with a VR headset was actually on a neuroscience conference, where I put on a headset and they were working on an application to make people conquer their fear of heights. So they wanted to trigger that emotion of how it feels when you're standing at such a height. So that was actually my first experience in virtual reality on a TK1. Yeah, amazing.
And you're totally right. For first responders and people that deal with very sort of intense situations, to train them for that using VR is very cheap compared to real life training and time. So I can only see that part of VR absolutely booming in the future. But let's pass it over to Zim. find out what we should be playing next week, what we've got to look forward to, some games we should be playing, maybe some games we shouldn't be playing, some little lowballs in there. So what you've got in store for us.
Every week he's nervous. He's like, what's going to come? What's Zim got for me this week? What did he dig out of Steam? Because you know where it's coming from.
Exactly, because we have no idea what Zim is going to tell us during this section. Nobody knows except Zim.
There's a slight trepidation in everyone's voices at this segment of the show. Okay, so I've got, actually this week, I don't have anything for PSVR, so if you're a PSVR fan, sorry, but I am wearing a PlayStation hoodie, so that makes up for it, unless you're an audio listener, in which case, empty.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So 3 things. Firstly, before we actually get into talking specifically about this, I was thinking, Mike, I'd talk about a particular price drop, if that makes sense. So I'll talk about something that we spotted midweek that dropped, which was of, let's say, pretty heavy surprise to me, and I took it in a very funny way. So Ubisoft dropped the price of Space Junkies by 60%, which is 60%. And this is only, what, a month and a half, 2 months after launch, when it launched for a very hefty price. I mean, in UK pounds, it was near on £35, and it's coming down to like 16 quid. If you've just bought the game and you're seeing it, now sold for 2/3, less the price, what's your reaction going to be? Probably not a very positive one, unless you're dying, like I know a lot of the Space Junkies fans are, for anyone to be in the lobbies, because the average lobbies are like, it's like single digits. They've been really struggling, and I think the high price is absolutely the center of that. And the thing that I think other developers should be learning from this lesson is there's a very stark difference between marketing a AAA title, for a 2D environment for Pancake versus for VR. And I really think that if I was to give just basic starting prices, if you're an indie dev, like I'll give UK pound prices because I'm in Scotland. £12 to £16 maximum if you're an indie dev, and I think maybe from that 16 price point up to 25 to 30 pushing it, but you don't push past 30 even at the top end. And I don't care how much your game costs to make. If you price yourself above that, you're picking it really slim pickings top of the pyramid, and I'm worried for you. I don't think that this solution is gonna fix their problem, and I feel very adamant about it. And I'm sad about it because I played Space Junkies 2 years ago now at OC4, and I felt it was one of the best kind of Unreal Tournament-y type games. What are you guys' thoughts on the 60% discount?
Before Space Junkies came out, I think what I suggested in one of the episodes was make it free to play, and then put these cosmetics in there. So I'm still supporting free to play complete, especially now after this mistake they made, make it completely free to play. It's your only way out, because I don't know if they can save it anymore, because this game came out, because I just checked it on Steam, the 26th of March. Yeah. It's like 31 days ago. So, I mean, you got to do something. And yeah, the price they were asking was way too high. I think they should have just gone for a freemium model. But yeah.
Yeah, like personally, I think it is a real shame, because Space Junkies is a game alongside Beat Saber that I dip into quite regularly. I've played it a bit this week, actually. It's just one of those games that you can easily hop into, play for 15-20 minutes, jump straight back out and feel satisfied. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, the gun models, the maps, the hand mechanics are stand out, and the gameplay is so satisfying. Yeah. But like you say, I think they really made a mistake in selling this game for 35, 40 British pounds. If they'd have just gone in half that price, and I know it's difficult because they've probably spent a lot of time and money developing this game, but
exactly.
Problem is, your main focus with a game like this is building your dedicated player base, that wants to keep coming back. And people aren't going to do that right now with all these headsets on the horizon when they're saving money, is drop, a lot of their budget on a single game. So,
and particularly when your eyes are on esports, when your eyes are on VR esports, and you're like, I want a 2v2 competitive match showing there on the showroom floor. We can all see it in the past Oculus Connects. They could be up there with the Onwards and no problem.
And worst of all is that this hurts future development on other games, because they're it didn't really sell, so should we still do? And they have been in the VR market for a while. They made Eagle Flight, they made Transference, and they like I really appreciate them being in the market as one of the AAA studios, out there that still try to make new stuff. But yeah,
But again, that shows like, what we have reiterated already a couple of times. Like if we ever like need to recommend something to a developer, is like, don't make a multiplayer title, because there is at the moment, I mean, there are successful multiplayer titles. The most successful games in VR are probably multiplayer.
Yeah, I agree.
Thing is, the market is not, I think, saturated enough for every VR multiplayer game to get like a community behind it. I mean, the majority of the multiplayer games that we have in VR are empty.
Yeah, that's true. But in case of like Space Junkies and the way they made this title, they could have pulled it off with the right price. I think.
Yeah, of course, with the right price.
Or just as I said, like freemium. Yeah, I don't know. I hope they are going to like really reconsider right now what they are going to do with this, because let's say pulling off some marketing right now on Twitter and Facebook, trying to get people in the game is not going to save it anymore. It's kind of like, you crashed so hard with your launch that now you need to find a way to get back up. And I don't know, I hope so, because otherwise I don't know what kind of impact will have on future development.
And I kind of feel like they should come out with a statement, I'll be honest, because they've already done it with the pricing, right? With the pricing of 60% off, it says exactly what it's like. Oops. Big oops, and then here you can have it for cheaper. But I don't think that's enough. And I actually think that, Nathie, I think you're onto something with the freemium model, because if you look at even the 2D, desktop games at the moment, a lot of those succeed very well off of that kind of model. And I think that if they're going to make a change to the way their financials work, is maybe difficult for them to do, because there's again development effort necessary to kind of develop the kind of storefront and how you're going to sell items to people and all that. I mean, you could even do it in a way like we have with all the card games that are out there, where the packages that you get, I forget, they're like a crate or something that you get in the game, and you get special items, but you could have unique skins and stuff like that.
Well, that's how the whole game has been built, with these skins and stuff. You could earn so much money on it.
Exactly.
And there are so many titles that do it now that show that this works. It's like Fortnite, Apex Legends. There are so many, even I play a lot of Rocket League. I bought this game for I think like $20 back in the days when it launched. Same. And I still spent like hundreds of dollars on
the Back to the Future car and stuff like that.
Yeah, and like opening cases, things like that. They could have done it here too. It's like gamers expect that stuff to happen nowadays, but yeah, like 50, 60, that's killing. That's such a high price, especially for a multiplayer focused game only. If it was a good campaign with a multiplayer, fine.
I do think it's near impossible to start like pulling that off now, because you're going to be pissing off the people who bought it now that it's all of a sudden. But what I would maybe suggest is like maybe start with like a free weekend again.
Yeah,
like get players back in there, and then say like, oh yeah, this discounted price is available from now on. So let them play a free weekend. Then people get in there. Maybe the maps get full again. Maybe you have like lobbies again, and then get the discounted price, and people might stick around. But since that's how they originally did it, right? They had a free weekend, and then they went on full sale. But they did it at the wrong price.
Yeah, I think that would be a good way to start off. Although it's more concerning than anything else I've heard, because it's cross-platform too. We're talking about PlayStation VR here. We're talking about Oculus Home here and Steam together, and then there's still no one playing it, or not enough people to actually get the servers
But that's in the chat there also. Onikaze is saying the business model for freemium is expecting somewhere around 1% of the player base buying things, and I'm not sure if those numbers have changed recently, but I don't think that VR has a user base for that yet.
It probably
which is a fair point. So if you have 1% of a niche, how much is left then?
Solid point.
I love hearing the emotions around the table about this, the different opinions that we've got. The only thing that I'll say, just because I sit on the opposite side of the table to Rowdy on this, my advice to developers is don't go down the multiplayer route, because I think that some of the best indie titles, and particularly indie, I think AAA multiplayer is a tough spot right now to go into because you sink so much into development cost and time, and you're not iterating fast enough. I think the indie stuff like War Dust and what Onward started off as is a great way. So like start off rough and ready, couple of maps, whatever you want to do with your multiplayer, game. See if your game design takes off with the player base, and then start pumping more time and money into it. But I think that hard polishing a title for 2-3 years and then launching it at a massive price. No. It's too much a waterfall technique. I think you need to back away from that.
I think if you are a dev who wants to make a multiplayer now, I think there is a lot of potential still in the co-op scene. Like I haven't played enough co-op VR.
It's often an add-on then. It's like something that comes on top of what is already a
sometimes, but experience. Like for example, Carly and the Reaperman is a game that has been completely built on co-op. Yeah. And it's such an amazing experience. There could be way more.
And the thing is, like when you're sharing with another player, like I play Covert with my wife, and like those moments are just. I mean, we've all had it. We've been in a mediocre game with a buddy, and it's been brilliant. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like the social makes the experience that bit much better. And I actually think that there aren't enough co-op titles.
Yeah.
I mean, Arizona Sunshine is a great one. That's great to play with a buddy. It's super.
We got a question from Chris Richardson, by the way. Are you guessing, or have you gone and seen the lobbies are empty? It's a fair assumption, but I wonder if this is just speculation.
That's not just speculation. There's averages that's published. Yeah, Mike, you've got.
Yeah, I actually went into the game yesterday to play a game, and it was just one other person playing, so it wasn't like a full game of 4 people. It was just me versus another player, and that player was obviously a new player that they'd just picked it up on the discount because they were a brand new player. So it kind of wasn't fun for me because I've already played the game a fair amount.
Let's say in case of like if you are a PC VR player and you want to see if this game is catching up again, if they reduce the price or whatever they are going to do to solve this, just check Steam Spy because you can see how many people are online playing it. So that would be a good indication, at least on the Steam platform to. Of course, then you still have Oculus Home players maybe joining and PSVR.
And that's where I saw it. Like I saw it before last week's podcast that on Reddit people were talking about this. And actually it was only shortly after that we then saw it landed. But on Reddit they were showing that there were 1 or 2 like average players in most of the hours of the day, for the lobbies, which across, as you said, 3 VR platforms.
Major
shocking.
Platforms,
this close to launch.
It's a shame. Like this game doesn't deserve this at all. And Ubisoft, like the people that worked on this title for so long, because it has been in development for quite a while.
They always deliver quality titles.
Right.
Agreed.
So, releasing next week.
Can we just relaunch this game? Like forget about the past. It's just launching next week. That would have been.
Honestly,
can we just turn back time and change the price?
I wish they could.
Like in the gaming scene, it's like one shot, one opportunity. That's what it's all about. There's no way you can
miss your chance to blow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I totally got that Eminem song into my Mom Spaghetti. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, before we go too deep into Eminem territory now, the first game I'm going to show you is a. This is weird. It's not advertised for Oculus Rift support, so it's HTC Vive and Windows MR. It's a game called Gadgeteer. So if anyone has actually played this on Rift, please let me know. This launched last week, April 23rd, for just about £12, so probably about $14, $15. I'll run the trailer for this now. So this is a game that I would start with the opening question. Do you like dominoes and marbles? Because this is about, Mike's raising his hand. Yeah. I knew you would be, Mike.
You're one of those weird kids, right?
Yeah.
It's a physics-based VR puzzle game where you build chain reaction machines to solve fun and intricate puzzles. And actually, I think that tagline suits the game right down to the ground. Looks really nice, great shadows in the game, good detail on the objects you interact with. I think we've all played games like this in the past. There's been several, both through demos. What's that? Toy Box is one. Yeah. There was another one I'm thinking of that was kind of like Gary's Mod. What's that?
Wasn't there one that changed its name because it was?
I don't remember.
How are these machines called again? Like.
Oh, I know. Pierhead Arcade. Is that the one?
No.
Oh, okay.
I think I know what Rowdy's talking about, but it's not in my head. Anyway, we'll solve this, I'm sure, at post-show. This mystery. But
digging into our brains again.
So they talk about
Rube Goldberg, exactly. The Rube Goldberg game. They had to change its name because I think that the original name I don't know where it comes from. It's probably some kind of person who made these kind of things.
Yeah.
That got actually like had to say that they had to change the name, so they changed the name. It looks almost similar to this, so I'm wondering if it's this one.
So you think that this is maybe that game renamed? I'd have to look. I didn't see anything about that in the names. So it's got a sandbox
the
mode.
chat is saying it changed to Gadgeteer.
Okay, so that's this game then.
Yeah.
That's this game.
Okay,
So it used to
cool.
be called the Rube Goldberg game.
Rube Goldberg machines or devices or something.
I like this new name a little bit better.
Gadgeteer?
Yeah, but the Rube Goldberg is the original kind of thing of like everyone who says like a good Rube Goldberg machine thinks of those kind of things where like a ball rolls and then you start boiling your egg or something.
I gotta say, there are some great music videos out there using this. You like, where you're panning shots through. Anyway, so that's Gadgeteer, as I said, launched last week by MetaNut, HTC Vive and Windows MR. For some reason, Oculus Rift is not mentioned, and it's £11, £39 on Steam.
Can we please? Can we please have this one on that Labo VR kit, the elephant one?
Yeah, exactly. This is why I'm so excited about this Gadgeteer game, because the developers emailed me this week, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Hell yeah, this is like my jam." So I've installed it, but I'm yet to play it. So I'm hoping to play it next week.
Yeah. When I saw that, I immediately thought of Mike and the game Wrench. For some reason, and I just imagined parts of a car like spinning in a garage somewhere and a motorball running by. Anyway, title number two for this is PC VR platforms. I know we talked about prices. This is launching at £35, so quite steep. What is it? Drum roll, please. This is a relaunched game. This is going to be, of course, Orbus VR. So I think there is a kind of a, not a caveat. What am I trying to think here? There is a compensating factor that we can think about when we think about that high price, and I'll mention that in a moment. So this game I'd played in its first instance. It was just Orbus VR, and this is Orbus VR Reborn. So what did they change, right? So now they've added a bunch of classes. Instead of 3 classes, there's now 8. So there's a Ranger, Musketeer, Warrior, Rune Mage, Shaman, Paladin, Bard, and Scoundrel. I think that's specifically for Nathie then. But the game is all about like community. Like when I got in here, out of all the VR games I've played, I'd say the original Orbus community, like walking around town and all that, everybody was helpful. It was so nice, and people would just be willing to kind of partner up with you and play. But it really was like the first MMORPG that landed. It's been out for about a year and a half now. They're claiming about 100 plus hours of gameplay, AI improvements, 5-person dungeons. And the dungeons I've done, I did like a level 20 dungeon in there, and it was great. There was massive stalactites in a cave. You had to drop on a boss. And so there's different game mechanics, boss to boss. It's not just grindy. And you're leveling up. And we talked before about the skill mechanics of having to draw an actual glyph in order to cast a spell. So it's designed for room scale virtual reality. There's a community aspect in it, and there's some things that they've added which I think will really support the game, like direct messaging. The VoIP has had a brush over, and they've redone the visuals as well. And people who've joined it who knew Orbus from before say it looks quite nice. So Orbus is something, as I said, I've played, I've enjoyed it. Not being really an MMO kind of guy, I still had loads of fun with it, and I'm really keen to jump back in and see particularly if they fixed what I thought they broke in terms of the 30-minute ride on this blimp that you had, not blimp, but a flying ship that you had before, which was like you accidentally get on the wrong spot or get off the wrong spot, and you spend 30 minutes getting back to your friends. Trust me, that is a game breaker. That was there before. So really keen to check this one out. I've seen already a lot of positive comments in chat earlier. So what are you guys thinking? Have you tried the original Orbus?
I haven't played it yet, but I'm a fan though. Like as a kid, I used to really want to play like World of Warcraft. I really wanted to play the game, but I didn't have the money to do like the monthly fee that they have been in. So I would spend a lot of time like there's like illegal servers that would like pop up somewhere, and you could play for like maybe a day, and they would take it out. So that was like my experience playing World of Warcraft. Like finally get to level 3 and my character gets deleted. But I just think it's amazing that you have this kind of stuff now in virtual reality. Like as a kid right now, I'd be crying literally. I'd be literally crying of happiness.
I want to watch when he plays the first time. You've hit the point that I missed to say there. So the price might seem stark unless you're familiar with MMOs. Most MMOs carry a subscription fee, which means every month you pay 10, 12 quid or whatever to get access to the game. And then I've never liked the kind of the feeling of guilt that gives you. I've got to get the most out of my game, so I'm enslaved to this title for the month, and now I've got to play as much as I can. Or I just forget about my subscription at the end of the year. I'm kicking myself for having spent 120 quid on a game I played twice. So neither of those I really like. And this is where they talk about MMOs, and there aren't so many where it's basically pay once, play forever, and that means pay once for the current content set and play forever. They are planning to support the game and, of course, the further development through expansion packs that will be paid later on, which I really like. And so for someone who doesn't like feeling guilty for having to pay, out the veins every single month, I think Orbus has started on the right foot. Is 36 quid a bit high? I still think it is. I think I would have liked it to see come in around like 25 or something. But given it's an MMO, I'll say leave that to the MMO fans. And I'm an FPS guy, so I'll shut up at that. Mike or Nathie, anything else you want to say about Orbus before we move on to number 3?
So they made a really interesting point about the price, and they said that they didn't want to reduce the price any further because they wanted to attract dedicated players rather than people that would just hop in and like kind of mess around. They want a community that are dedicated to the game.
Good point.
So I kind of guess that if you have that price, then you're going to get dedicated players that play it regularly. So that's why I'm kind of excited to try it out. But yeah, it looks super interesting. I've never played Orbus before, but I know a lot of people in my Discord particularly are very excited about it because it's coming to Quest as well. So it's going to be very accessible. And they've even decided in my Discord they're going to start their own like guild and do stuff together. So I'm super excited to see how they get on with that and go on their little adventures together. So yeah, I think it's going to be cool.
Nice. Maybe we'll catch some time together. Who knows? I know it's a rare thing, but who knows?
It's very rare.
Very rare. Okay, third and final title. This title is by Sign, which I thought was a great name, being as I said, engineer on the last one. This one launched on April 25th. So actually, everything I've talked about today has already launched, and you can go away and just go ahead and play it. So this is called Proze, Episode 1, Enlightenment. So this is the first segment of a game. I should have mentioned earlier, Gadgeteer is in early access. This title is not. This is the released bit. And actually there was a free demo called Proze Prologue available on Steam before. It's still available for download, so if you want a taster, go check it out. This is the first episode in the Proze series. It's a VR survival adventure. Very pretty graphics, quite dark, kind of dramatic look to the game. And actually reminds me a little bit of Red... what's that game, Mike, that you finished that we... shoot, never mind. I'll come back to it. Red, the Russian one.
Red Matter.
Red Matter. It feels like the environments look to me a little bit like Red Matter if I was to classify it in terms of how it looks and feels. But the idea is it's a story of past and present. So I think you're going to be jumping between time zones. Whether or not that's the same character or different characters, I can't tell. But it focuses on this concept of enlightenment and experiments around enlightenment. And I'd actually urge people to go and watch the trailer to hear the audio description. Quite eerie. And it's essentially, these two connected stories, one which is in the 1970s where you're following the story of a Soviet engineer, and the other one which takes place in modern day. There's this massive conspiracy and you're trying to work all this out. It's a single player title that's going to be landing for PC VR, or has landed for PC VR and Windows MR. Price is £16, so I think that's actually, again, perfect pricing in my eye for an indie title. It's called Proze. This is the first bit of it, and I'm very keen to hear feedback of what people think of this one. So again, it's another puzzler. What do you guys think about Proze?
Well, someone in the chat says it looks like Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl. This is like a classic title. It's so old, but it kind of does. Yeah. Kind of does.
Well, there's that. Okay, so the final thing I wanted to say, and again, reflecting on the fact that we don't seem to have much releasing this particular last week running into the first week of May, there's like very almost no news out there, is that the developers behind Five Nights at Freddy's VR promised us in blood, okay, they didn't, but they promised us in blood that by the end of April, that would land on PSVR. And I very much doubt now that it will. So it must have been delayed. But it was on across all the different sites. We played it. It was very playable at PAX. Something must be holding them up. I've written to the devs begging them for a bit of snippet of information. Nothing back so far. So again, as I said earlier, if this is something you're looking forward to, ping the devs and let's get a bloody release date out of them. All right.
Bloody release date.
A bloody release date.
I can't wait till next week when Zim has to reel off 50+ launch titles for Christmas.
That's going to happen, definitely. So, Mike, back to you.
Thanks very much, man. So our first topic of today's main topic, is Mario Odyssey on Nintendo Labo VR. Nathie got to try it out this week. I'm super intrigued about what your experiences and your thoughts about what this experiences was. I've seen some crazy people hooking up their PSVRs as well to the Nintendo Switches to play.
That's something new that happened today. It's like fresh news.
Yeah, so I didn't even know that was a thing. But yeah, go ahead. Let's hear what you thought of Mario Odyssey.
Let me put on my wise head.
Yeah, of course. For the audio listeners, it's Mario Cap.
Proper Mario Cap. That's the new one, right?
This is life size. So imagine how big Mario's head would be compared to mine. Yeah, this is from the Nintendo Club. It's like one of the last merchandise items you could get back in the days. But anyways, I played Mario Odyssey in VR. This VR experience, and it's a short one. Takes you around, well, let's say 15 to 20 minutes to finish. You got a mission. You have to find 9 band members, and you have to find these band members in 3 different levels: the beach, the like Cap Kingdom, and there is another one. It's called Luncheon. I don't know how to pronounce it. I was kind of confused with the name. And what does it even mean? Can someone explain?
It's almost like you get like luncheon meat. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, luncheon. Yeah, because it was like this environment full of like delicious things. So that explains everything. Nice. Okay, now we know. Yeah, I was already like, what the heck is this for a name? I'm a Dutchman after all, so hey. But yeah, so I had to find 9 band members in these 3 levels, and what you had to do is you had to collect music notes. And these music notes would unlock a instrument that you had to give to one of the band members. So that took me like 15 to 20 minutes. It basically was a mini game, very short, and super simple. And in the first level I played, Cap Kingdom, it was this familiar level that you play as one of the first levels in Mario Odyssey when you start off. But my head was stuck at one place, so I had to use a swivel chair to look around, and I had to control Mario from a distance. I couldn't get any closer. I couldn't teleport to different camera angles. It was just this set camera angle. And let's say if Mario was very far away, you had to use an actual digital zoom to get to him, so you could zoom in and then see him. But since the zoom was so far, my head starts to, you can really see your
wobble
head bump, and you see it wobble. But like when we were talking about this before it came out, I can remember that I said like, this is going to be Nintendo magic, where Mario is going to interact with you in new ways we would have never imagined before. Well, that didn't happen. No. It was quite disappointing. It's an okay experience, I would say. I think what I've seen on the internet, what I've seen pop up, was a bit extreme. It's an okay thing. I think kids, again, will enjoy this. But I did expect more from it. But the worst thing I experienced, and this is quite funny too, actually, is that I wanted to play all these levels, but then I found out that on my main account, because I didn't finish Mario Odyssey just yet, I had to first finish the entire campaign to then play the VR experience in its complete form.
You had to unlock.
So let's say if you played Super Mario Odyssey and you finished Cap Kingdom, this is the first level you go into, then you can play that one in the VR mode too. If you played the beach and you finished that one, then you can also play that level, so on, so on. So luckily, my nephew, who has been using my Switch for a while now, already finished the game. So this way I could play the whole thing. But otherwise, you can't. So hopefully they will unlock it just for free, because I think that's way more fun. But maybe they want to use the VR mode as leverage to get people into Mario Odyssey and finish it first. Maybe kids, when they play, they're like, I really need to finish it to get into VR. I don't know. Maybe the excitement is really taking them somewhere.
But didn't you also say that you could only play through it once as well?
Yeah.
No way.
So I wanted to record it for a video on my channel, but then after I played it, I was like, can I reset it? But I couldn't. as far as I know, I couldn't. So
You must be able to do that somehow, right?
well, I could delete my entire save game, but that would mean I have to play the entire campaign again.
Surely they wouldn't take a Mario. Why would they take a
I
Mario?
don't know. Maybe someone can confirm that you could reset it, but I checked it. I couldn't find it anywhere. So at the end, when I found all the band members, and there were, as I said, 9 in total, you were watching this concert, and it was like the band playing the music, like the theme song from the new Super Mario Odyssey game. What is the name of this song? I'm not sure. It's like jump up in the air. It's a really catchy song. It's great.
Yeah,
Sounds
I know
awesome.
which one you mean.
Yeah, and you can also like put up your Mario. Like after a while, you're totally into it. But yeah, I don't know. Like for kids, fine. But I was like, what the heck did I just play? I thought I was really going to get into this built from the ground up for VR Mario Odyssey mini game. But no, I think the only thing that I thought was annoying was the fact that I could not move my head to different places, or a camera that would follow Mario along. Because if you played Edge of Nowhere, if you played Lucky Still, Chronos, or Moz, or any other third-person title, you know that there are many techniques to make a third-person title pleasant to play and to watch.
Yeah.
But in case of this one, you feel the disconnection. It's like you're a security camera spying on Mario, but it doesn't feel like you are a part of the adventure. Well, with Edge of Nowhere and those VR titles that have been built from the ground up for VR, you feel like you are a part of the journey because you follow the character along, this camera goes around it, and it's super cinematic. But in this case, it's like, yeah, well, goodbye, Mario. I can use the zoom to still see you, but no.
So it's a shame that they didn't capitalize on any of like the interaction from like Astrobot or Moss, where you can actually like high five the character.
Astrobot also an awesome example. High-fiving, or maybe Mario would throw his cap at you and something would happen, or no, there was nothing really between you and Mario happening. No.
How would you do that, Mike? How would you, because having not played the Nintendo Labo VR, do they have trackable objects in the game that the headset's tracking?
No, but I'm just giving it as an example, like, of interaction in VR.
When you move closer or something.
Yeah, or something like that, like he waves to you or something like that. There doesn't seem to be any interaction between you and him, which is a shame.
Now, I played these 10 to 20 minutes this way, so I had to hold it. And the interesting part is Nintendo gives you a warning every, 5 to 10 minutes. Hey, maybe you should take a break. Because it does get heavy after a while. You're like, oh, I can't do this anymore, and you're playing like this. So in this case, I would have preferred a virtual boy instead, like a stand to play it. But I don't think it's as bad as the press was writing about it. I think you should still keep in mind that this is for kids. I'm not saying that you should then deliver a bad VR experience. I think camera technique-wise, they could have done better, and interaction as well. Interactions would have been a great add-on, but the camera angles were just not good enough, I felt like. No.
So I'm really curious because, and I think none of us have played it, but just to ask the question, Zelda was the thing that I saw on Reddit getting totally shafted.
I've seen people saying in the chat as well that it was exactly the same as what Nathie was describing for Mario, with like the camera problems and like that it's not worth it at all.
But I've also seen in chat that it that Mario was mediocre, but Zelda was bad. You know, and that's generally what I've taken from the internet as well. So we haven't tried Zelda yet.
No. Like Mario was okay-ish, and Zelda, I haven't tried it yet. And what I've seen so far is that I'm not gonna say if it's bad or not because I didn't try it. Obviously, it wouldn't be fair to say anything. But what I am going to say is that when I played Zelda on my Switch, the first time I got my Switch, Zelda was the game I played, and I noticed straight away that I was like, hey, it's dropping frames. And it was kind of, sometimes it didn't really perform that well. So imagine then doubling that game into this VR mode and then trying to, I don't think it runs. I don't think it's able to run. And I don't know why Nintendo takes the risk to even then introduce that VR mode.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
I think the issue here is that the Mario experience is like, 10 to 15 minutes long. But Zelda, is like a, you know,
It's
you
just
can
a
play this
game.
game for like 70 hours. You're not going to play for 70 hours holding a Switch like this. You're going to have like arms.
Dude,
Someone is gonna do it.
The only thing that I can see like it being useful for is the camera function there. Because you have like the first person camera where you can take pictures with in Zelda of like certain sceneries. If they would do that in VR, that'd be okay still.
So I think I get the impression then that this Nintendo Labo VR so far, like the original kit and the experiences that come with the kit, I think we've all agree are pretty legit.
Top notch.
Which is exactly what we said as well, that we were expecting, you know, the kit itself to be like the main experience, and these like Mario Odyssey and Zelda are just going to be things that are like a little bit gimmicky probably.
Yeah, but I did I did have hope with Mario Odyssey, because we knew they announced this. They said like, we're gonna build something from scratch. Maybe not for VR, but at least for. So I was like, this might be something. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the expectations were so high after everyone tried the Nintendo Labo VR kit that this is not really in the same ballpark. And
Seems like a bit of a missed
the chat is also saying that someone will probably tape it to their head now for 70 hours to go and get that completion. And someone, Buck3131, is saying that someone has created a 3D print for a Switch headset. So
Wow.
Well,
it's already happening, boys.
I've been watching a lot of what Disrupt are doing on YouTube, and they do that. I'm like, this is exactly where Disrupt should come in, guys. You're freaking nuts already. Please go do this. This is my challenge. The FReality challenge is, guys, go create a video. I promise you, it's gonna go viral. Complete Zelda in the Labo, okay, with the VR thing. If your eyes don't fall out, I'll be surprised.
It's so funny that you mentioned that, because I was thinking the exact same thing with Disrupt. I was like, I'm waiting for his Zelda Breath of the Wild, you know, completion on the Nintendo Labo VR.
I think the like if I look at the chat and the people that did try it, I think what you can compare the Zelda experience with is Farbacks in a way.
Right.
That's kind of what it is.
Right.
If let's say I can make a recommendation here of something that is very nice to play. There's this Zelda first-person demo that you can try. It's free. I don't know where you can exactly find it. It's not on Steam or anywhere, obviously.
Unless that's been removed by Nintendo now.
It's not removed just yet. Okay, but that's something you could play, and it's like going back to the classics, and you can fight all kinds of mini bosses. It's super awesome. It's really cool.
So overall, kind of disappointing.
Yeah, because the thing I was gonna say is, we expected Nintendo to have a solution we hadn't heard about for the, not Rowdy, I know Rowdy, Rowdy's in chat saying like, I definitely said, okay, I got it. You were definitely on the corner, the Rowdy corner for this one. But I mean, the other sensible lads in in the conversation, like, we're like, Nintendo's gonna have this solved, right? Nintendo don't generally just flub it, and it feels like they kind of did. It's really puzzling.
They didn't at all, like, because we even said it on the previous episode that Labo kit is what it is. It's a Labo. It's a Labo kit. It's for kids to like experience virtual reality. Yeah. It isn't really a virtual reality headset per se as your way you play games with. It's making the headset that is like 85% of the experience, and then the rest that's like, you know, oh, what can I do with this now? And that is it. And we also talked about like that creation, that you can like start creating your own kind of little games. That is more like what the Labo kit is for. It's not for Mario or Zelda. Like, people buying Mario or Zelda for playing in VR are just plain wrong.
So what you'd say is, Rowdy, you're basically saying like, this is kind of like getting sliders, you know, a couple of mini hamburgers on a plate, and you're not meant to like expect that to be a meal. You expect that to be a taster, right? And that's the same thing here. Like, you're saying, even with the health warning messages, the take a break messages that Nathie has had, it's telling me that software-wise, they're trying to push you out of the headset and say, you know, you're only meant to be here for 5 or 10 minutes. You know, feck off.
You can't even hold it for longer. At least not with my muscles.
I thought, like, having tried the Nintendo Labo, and it definitely exceeded my initial expectations of it, that these would also do the same. But it turns out I don't think that is the case.
No, it was underwhelming. Although, you know, getting a peek into for the very first time officially into Mario its world through like the goggles is amazing. You're like, wow, this could in the future become like something. Because I still feel like Nintendo, if they if the success of Labo keeps on, you know, rolling, they could bring so many so many amazing third-person VR experiences to the table.
And funky different game designs.
They master the art of third-person games. There is no other company I know that nails it better than Nintendo.
Well, Astrobot did pretty amazing. I think they have some hot heels to follow there because
I mean, I think Nathie means more in general.
Yeah, like history, right? Like the history of Nintendo with this third-person camera.
Yeah, well, most of their games they made are third-person.
But I think if Nintendo legitimately wants to make a Mario in VR, then Astrobot has already set the bar, and they need to exceed that. So
yeah,
they need to beat that.
If they legit want to do it, you're not going to hold this and then play it for 70 hours.
If they legit going to do it, they're not going to do it on Switch.
No.
And I love Switch.
But legit are going to do it, then well, I don't know.
I don't know.
It won't.
So enough of that then. But so overall, I think to summarize, we had high expectations, didn't quite meet our expectations.
Press F8 in the chat.
But Nintendo Labo VR is legit and is worth checking out if you own a Switch, but maybe not experiences.
That's it.
So our final topic of the show this week is our predictions for Facebook. Taking place in San Jose at the McHenry Convention Center, which we're all familiar with, as that's where Oculus Connect is held every year. If you want to know when the keynote starts, it starts at 10 a.m. Pacific time on Tuesday, the 30th of April, which is just a couple of days away now. That means it's 6 p.m. UK time, 7 p.m. in Europe. So you can check out the live stream, which is going to be on Facebook. They're going to stream the whole event, so you'll be able to see how it all unfolds.
And in Oculus venues as well.
Oculus venues, you can watch it in Oculus venues, which is only on the go though.
That's brilliant. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna do it that way. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's going to be kind of interesting. I've seen a lot of people posting speculation rumors, release date rumors, pre-order rumors, Best Buy employees being given God status, and
I've seen the videos everywhere. Those update videos. They're like I can't escape them.
Yes. But the thing is, it's all speculation and rumor. Like, we legitimately don't know what's going to happen on Tuesday, whether they're gonna launch the headsets there, or they're going to be pre-orders and they're going to ship them later. Like, we just don't know how it's going to play out. So we thought it'd be kind of interesting to have some predictions of ours. Maybe you just read them out.
Some predictions, you mean?
Yeah, like Nathie's, got one headset to eat already, so maybe we can like bump that up. But I'm going to throw my first prediction out there on the table. Are you ready for this one?
Do it.
Okay, sure.
Hold on to your butts. I predict that Mark Zuckerberg will be on stage.
Damn it, he took my prediction.
Wow, hey. Nice, hey, yeah. Totally accurate.
So of course, that's, just a joke. But what predictions do you guys have? Because, obviously the biggest rumor, of course, is that this is where they're going to announce the Quest and the Rift S.
It's gonna happen sometime, and spring only lasts so long,
Yeah,
exactly. They've not got much longer. So what about you guys?
I think Zuckerberg will come on stage, then he does a backflip with an Oculus Quest, and he's like, "This is awesome. Go check it out now."
Using the pass-through mode, he'll walk on stage.
Yeah. He does some sick tricks,
That'd be cool.
breakdance moves, spinning on the floor, and sells it straight away to everyone.
Even better, he does a backflip off into the audience. The audience parts because nobody likes Zuckerberg anymore. He breaks his spine there. It's revealed only 2 weeks later that it was a stunt double. Then he comes on stage for real at a press event, unveiling that Mark Zuckerberg didn't die, and that's when Quest is launched.
Interesting. Also, feel free to play along in the chat, by the way, if you've got any predictions about when the Quest is going to launch, or when it's going to release, or when you're going to get your hands on it. Let us know. We'd love to know. But what I'm also really hoping for is that we get some more information about games, because we've had a lot of sort of games announced up to the run-up, during this Quest countdown. But what I haven't seen that many of is that many shooters, really, which is unusual because shooters tend to be like the most staple of VR.
Multiplayer ones in specific.
Specifically, yeah. We've got Robo Recall, which is a solid shooter in VR.
Yeah.
We haven't really had any, like you say, multiplayer shooters like Pavlov or Onward or,
Firezone.
Yeah, so I would like to see more of that. If we get some really solid multiplayer first person.
Even if it had
which one would you choose out of all of them?
I would love something like Onward or Pavlov to be announced as a Quest title. I think that would be awesome. So cool. But it's going to be tricky.
I've read on Reddit, because I've been today scrolling around, that the Pavlov devs were denied a headset, or they didn't get a headset. So it's unlikely that they will hit Quest. But people have been saying on Reddit that Onward might be on there. So fingers crossed.
That would be super interesting, I think. And I think that would be like a, like you said, we said earlier, like multiplayer games, they can make or break sometimes, but I think if you're a launch title and you're a multiplayer shooter, then you've got like a real good chance of.
Yeah.
Well, the only one that is like officially announced is Dead and Buried.
Of course. Sorry, I did.
But it's not a competitive shooter. I think Dead and Buried was a fun game, but it's not something you're going to play on a competitive level.
I think was Box VR already confirmed for the headset? I think it was, if I'm not mistaken.
Not sure, and this is the problem. Like, there's so many. Like, there's 50 plus titles. It's going to be interesting to see if they list them all somewhere.
Because exercise for me.
The chat is confirming it, by the way, as well. Vivian is saying that Dante keeps dropping hints that it will be on Quest. Dante being the developer for Onward, and apparently I was wrong. It wasn't that they weren't denied a headset, the developers from Pavlov, but that they ignored emails from Oculus. Says Aaron Thompson.
Okay,
that's a totally different ballpark.
Interesting. So in terms of games, like I know we know some of the games that are coming out already. Which are the ones that you're most excited about? Your personal ones that you're most excited
Number one?
Maybe like your top 2 or top 3.
My number one is Journey of the Gods. By far.
Good choice.
But that's also because I haven't played everything Quest yet, but that's something I want to finish for sure. Yeah.
So my top 2, number 1 is Vader Immortal. I'm super hyped for that. And number 2, I'm actually really, really excited about Face Your Fears 2. And it's kind of interesting, like this title hasn't really hit many people's radar. They don't really have a launch trailer that I've seen. But me and Zim got to try it out at OC5, and it was one of those games that Zim was like, "Hey, Mike, you need to try this one." And I was like, "Okay, cool," because I really liked Face Your Fears on the go. So they were like little bite-sized, scary experiences. Some of them were freaking terrifying, by the way.
They're
like,
really good.
I almost had a heart attack in the
even on the go.
Amazing. So the fact that this is kind of a fleshed out game, apparently it's like 4 to 6 hours long, and then once you've completed it,
wait, how much?
4 to 6 hours.
It's like
4 to 6. I thought 4 to 6.
46 hours of fear. No.
Yeah, like with a storyline pulling you through the experience. And once you've completed it, you then get access to the highlight jumps, scares, portions of the game. So you can play those little bite-sized bits, like 3 to 5 minute bite-sized bits.
You know why they did that? So that when you finish the game, you can like give it to someone else and say, "Here, you should try this." And
exactly.
Feel my pain. No, but I'm with you, Mike. It felt like, if I was to say, here's what Resident Evil on PSVR felt like. Take all the bits where you're walking around and getting scared while you're moving. Take the fact that you have actually locomotion, put that into a horror game, and strip it down a little bit. Like, the textures aren't as good and things like that, but it doesn't dent the horror part of the experience. I mean, if you played Face Your Fears, one of the things is they kind of did everything they could with you sat still. And this game isn't that way. You actually move with it. And there are some things they do that are quite tricky, that use good, I'll call it room scale, but I like to call it chameleon room scale, because you might be facing this way. This is the thing that changes when you're not just normal PCVR. They can F with your orientation, and they do it. So like, you go into a shed, and then there's some spiders crawling at you, and you're backing away from that. And meanwhile, while you're doing that, they're like turning the level around, and now you're facing a different way. And it's like, that is another level of horror, because one thing that we've all gotten really good at, I'm convinced, and if you're into VR, you will have, is basically tracking 2 realities at once. But when they do this scene shifty thing, it's a bit like Sightline the chair. Your orientation goes out the door. And there's a level of immersion, trickery, that comes with that. And that's probably what I'm most excited for with Quest.
Yeah,
it's so new. Devs have been toying with it behind the scenes. That's what I want to see. You know,
the illusion you're playing with. It's like a trapdoor that suddenly opens. You didn't even notice that you fell into it.
Yeah.
And it's they also pulled that off with Super Hot.
Super Hot, and that was going to be on my list. Like,
where
Super
you turn
Hot.
around and suddenly there's a hallway that wasn't there before, and then you constantly walk in a circle, but it feels like it's super big. Like Unseen Diplomacy was the first title to create this whole magical thing. But I'm going to throw another thing in here. What game do you guys think is going to be bundled with the Oculus Quest? Because I'm sure it's not going to just launch without any title at all, right? It's going to launch with something.
They really could, though. They haven't. launched their past titles with anything, but it's obvious what we all want and what the internet's been demanding, which is Beat Saber.
Of course, Beat Saber.
I actually think it's going to be something else.
Yeah, it could be, but it could be something else. But if you're asking me which should they bundle it with, then I'm going to be saying Beat Saber, because it's the game that everyone who knows VR wants to kind of play.
Asgard's Wrath.
Go without.
Oh wait, that's not on Quest.
No, Quest.
So the two titles that I think could be bundled with the headset are Dead and Buried, because it's made by Oculus themselves. Gunfire Games passed the torch over to them, and they developed the sequel. Or it could be Robo Recall.
Yeah, but those are the ones that are indeed likely to be bundled. But if you're asking me which I would want to see bundled with it, then it's Beat Saber.
It's definitely going to be a social game, because they want all the new players to kind of meet up, and that's what they did with the bundle with Oculus Rift with Marvel Powers United. They wanted all these new folks to join up in this title and meet each other and get their first VR experience together. So I think they will go for something multiplayer. I don't know if Dead and Buried is really the title to show in that sense, but as you said, there's no other multiplayer shooter.
I hope they don't do that, Mike. I really hope they don't go for those titles. The reason I say it is this is another situation where the original Game Boy launched with Tetris. It was a combination that changed the dimension for so many gamers, and that device was it was just a gorgeous combination. Beat Saber and Quest together is the combination that belongs there. They have a path for the economy side of this. You can buy DLC. You've got the base game, but you can buy DLC. That seems like they've already laid the foundation for launching this together. It's the only game that should, in my opinion, that should go bundled with it that's pre-installed on the device. The other stuff should be downloadable, like Robo Recall should be downloadable, Dead and Buried maybe.
The only thing that could, because someone could buy a license for, it depends on the Beat Saber team, of course, if they do this, but it could be that they're okay, if you want to, you can license it with our with a headset, but it could also be that this is an exclusive where there's one company who puts so much money on the table, let's say Index, where it's listen, we want this exclusive only for the Index, and it's gonna bundle with that. I don't know, but I'm just guessing here, where it could be that you can use Beat Saber is this one game you can use as leverage for a product you sell. I don't think Beat Saber is supporting that idea, but
no, definitely not.
There's a chat question here directed, and I think this is at Mike, because Mike, you went to that London event with Oculus and Press. Techmaster 1409 is saying Ruben said there won't be anything other bundled with the Quest for $399. I think he said something like that at the London event, but I hope it will be bundled with some games. Do you have anything to back up that comment?
So I didn't actually hear that comment from Jason Rubin about no games being bundled. I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't any game bundled, but it would be nice if there was. But in terms of Beat Saber, yeah, of course, everyone would love that. It would be the icing on the cake if you bought a Quest. But in terms of the games that you're looking forward to, then Zim, what were the two? One was Super Hot, did you say? And
Super Hot for the stuff. So the trickery on the show floor at OC5 when we got our first hands-on with Quest. The demo, although it was running kind of low frame rate at the time, the demo of Super Hot was, like Nathie said, the closest thing to unseen diplomacy, which tricks you. You walk around corridors. I love that in a game because it immerses me in a way. So definitely Super Hot. And the second one, it's got to be simple. Other than things that I know that I can't say, it has to be Beat Saber. I love Beat Saber. I want to dance and prance in my room with Beat Saber, and I just am hoping that we're gonna very quickly get some kind of anti-sweat device that helps with the equipment, because I don't want to wreck it and not allow my wife to go in it, because I'll tell you, she does not want to touch any headset when I've been sweating into it. So
you know what they should do? They should announce a demo disc, like they did with PSVR, with all these small demos on there.
Like
you
a downloadable?
Can try them on the Quest.
Yeah, smart, very smart to do a taster.
I don't like that kind of stuff.
And Rowdy, what's Rowdy's corner?
Yeah, for me, because I see the Quest still as a very different kind of device. I know that I'm always saying I want single player experiences. So the most logical thing would be indeed for me to say Journey of the Gods or Vader Immortal. But because I see the Quest as such a device that is so easy to take with me and to show other people, I'm more on the lines of thinking Super Hot, Beat Saber, but also Sports Scrambled. Just trying out that and showing that to other people. I think it's just an awesome kind of like those kind of games to be playing that with like multiple kind of people and then just sharing that around.
Sports Scramble though, really?
Yeah, like the ones that we played on OC5 as well.
The one with like the tennis racket and stuff. I mean, that game is for me. That's like a garbage pile game. Like I don't want to touch that.
I love that. I
don't know. Like I thought that a little bit, but when I played it more at Boston, I was enjoying it way more than I thought.
It was a little fun. It was hilarious. I mean, I've played tennis for the majority of my life, and it's not a tennis game at all. Like, no, there's nothing comes nothing close to it.
It's not a sim. No,
but it does feel very satisfying. I did have a lot of fun, like just messing around with that. So, and I can already imagine like me being on a party, taking it with me. So we're gonna do something crazy now. Put it on, like everyone gets to go in it. We play together. Maybe multiple people have a quest you can play against each other. There's gonna be like so many kind of things that you can do with that. Like, I'm actually looking forward to trying it out. Well, not really for like myself. It's like I want to get the best scores and that kind of stuff. But more for like sharing it.
If they don't bundle it, people can still jump into VR chat and Rec Room. I don't know when they launch, but
Rec Room is going to be so good. I want to do the Battle Royale in Rec Room in Quest. That's going to be amazing. And the other thing I would say is, if you're not already subbed to the slightly toxic arena that is the subreddits for Rift, and I guess there's going to be a Quest one now.
There is one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I hadn't seen it yet. Go sub on that and turn on notifications and stuff. And I say that because the videos of people wrecking their houses, TVs, and stuff and hitting their dogs or whatever is going to be priceless for the next couple of months. Anyway.
Yeah. So the next question is, obviously we know that the Quest is going to come with two different sizes, the 64 gig and the 128 gig. So one's $399 US. The bigger one, the 128, is $499 US. Yeah. Same equivalent in pounds, by the way, if you're in the UK. Sorry, but you know that we've always been screwed over with these prices forever. So I don't think it should become any surprise for you that, the translation is always the same in pounds as it is in dollars. But which one are you guys sort of going to go for? Because, we already have Go's that we use as like maybe like media consumption devices. Or are you going to go for the bigger one just for games? I'm intrigued.
I really don't know.
I actually have learned from the Go. I'd say, because the Go, I was super surprised that I could fit literally 90 installs and still have breathing room in my 64 gig. I mean, there's a lot of games that are like 200 meg and games that are like you wouldn't expect. They've done serious work to compress for Go. I kind of suspect, though, that games are going to start to inflate pretty fast. So although my recommendation for most people is the lower one is totally fine, go for the 399, I probably will go for the higher headroom because I'm a heavy content user.
I think it depends on what you are planning to play. If you are someone who likes to jump into a lot of multiplayer titles, you of course want to have them all installed. But if you play, let's say, a single player once, it's like you played it, so you just delete it again and you go on to the next one. From a personal perspective, I would go for the 64 because then I would have more money to buy more games.
Yes.
From a work perspective, of course, I want all the games to be on there all the time, because I might have to go back for an update or show something off. Exactly. But yeah, definitely 64. I think it's fine to manage that.
Yes.
And there is, of course, this possibility that you can modify it and add like extra storage to it yourself.
What about you, Rowdy?
To first happen.
I don't know. Okay. It's indeed like what you said, like, 64 gigabytes is probably enough for like the most average user.
Yeah,
but since we're all pretty much power users, it might be wiser to go for like the higher version.
Yeah, because I think the average game roughly is going to be around 2 gigabytes.
That's the thing, yeah.
So
we don't. Of course, we also don't like. What is the life cycle of this device? Like, is this going to be a device that's going to be reiterated every year? Then it doesn't make sense to get like a bigger version. But if it takes like maybe 5 to 6 years or whatever, when games maybe get a bit larger and they try to optimize things better, then maybe you get into trouble then. But that's just guesswork now.
Like from 64 to 128, like that $100 you pay as an extra is a lot of money. It's a lot of money for just that extra.
But there's a problem here, right? And the inherent problem with the Go, I haven't seen a single thread of a solution for this, is how do I get my save games off? How do I port my config or settings, right? There's no tool right now to do that, and I don't get it, because we can pull we can pull all the other kinds of files off the device.
Yeah.
This is just an OS
But
update.
going back to the basics, like save games are saved on the internal storage. I don't think Oculus saves save games for you on their server, because when I once deleted Marvel Powers, my complete save game was gone.
There's no cloud. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's on the device. Like when I burned my headset.
Cloud it's way easier. If you have to do it yourself, it's old school.
But that's cost, right? All I'm asking is, you can tether this device to a PC, pull the files off, and then you can back them up. Like I've had to restart 5-6 different games. It's a real pain in the rear to have to do that. And the problem here is, say you pick the 64 gig edition. 6 months down the line, you're like, actually, I'm a huge Quest user now. I'm big into this, but I'm filling up and this is uncomfortable. I want to transition. If there's not a solution to pull your files off of that, and at the moment, I don't know of any jailbreak way or any method to pull the files down, you're screwed. Because you're stuck.
Cross-buy in this case is going to be an issue too, where you're like, oh, I have this game on, but my save game is not going anywhere. So
Exactly.
Your save game isn't cross-transferable. No.
No, it's not cloud-based. If it was cloud-based, it would have been way easier.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, my advice for people out there who are thinking about getting either the 128 gig or the 64 gig is really think about if you want to watch movies in VR, because watching movies in VR is actually an amazing experience. And I'd highly recommend it, by the way. It's a very immersive experience. You're not distracted by the world around you, so you can really just enjoy the movie, which is great. And especially on the Quest with its OLED panels, it's going to look super nice, especially in like big screen and other applications where you can watch your sort of movie content on. So I would say if you're that way inclined and you want to take your movie library around with you, then go for the 128 gig. But like the others have said, the 64 will be more than enough for the average gamer.
Yeah.
On the movie point, I'm just going to make one point on the movie point, because I came across this recently. Like, we've got 2 Go's in our house. Why don't we have, you guys can tell me if you know of any apps for this, why don't we have the ability to sync up? Like, why can't I get my wife into Netflix or Amazon account and me and watch something together? Because the point that you made, Mike, it's so easy these days to have a phone by your side, Twitter going or whatever, right? And you're getting distracted and you miss plot points. And you're just like, oh, that film wasn't great. But when you watch, I've noticed this, when you watch something in the Go, it's like that bit more intense and immersive, simply because you're forced to pay attention to the whole thing. And actually, if you're a film director, you probably love VR for this reason, because people pay attention to all the nuances that you spent hours refining in your piece. And I don't know why. It's a simple thing, like a Wi-Fi link between the two to just sync up our content. Like, why doesn't that exist?
And this is a really good point that a lot of people have asked about buying multiple Quests for like family members and friends, that if they have the same account, can they play the game at the same time? So say like, you buy one for you and your wife and you buy one copy of Tennis Scramble, can you use the same account on both devices to play together? Well, that's not going to be the case. You're going to have to create a separate account and buy the game twice, unfortunately, to be able to do something like that.
Or 4 times if you have 4 members of your family. Oh, God.
Yeah. But let us know in the chat, are you going to be buying the 64 gig? Are you going to be buying the 128 gig? Which game are you going to be buying on day one? When do you think it's going to release? Do you think it's going to release during the event, or do you think it's going to be later that they're going to ship them out? We'd love to know your suggestions.
On the note of watching movies, the Go is still a great device to watch movies with, and it's way cheaper than a Quest. So if you're on a budget, Go is fine as well to watch movies with.
Yeah, it's legit.
This is the reason why Go is super, even with the Quest, for watching films, because this floppy back end to the headset, for those audio listeners, there's no plastic, there's no rigidity. This is literally the equivalent of like a thick sock. That's what I would say in terms of the material. You can lie down anywhere except for on a rock. If you lay on a rock, then you're a Muppet and you don't deserve to be watching films in the Go anyway. But if you just lay down like on a couch, in bed, on a plane, so nice for digesting content. And actually, I think Quest users are at a slight disadvantage for that reason, in that if you want to lie down, if you've seen the back of the Quest, I don't think it's going to be as comfortable to lie down on that piece. I'm yet to test it, but let's give that a go when we get the headsets.
I think it's a little OP to watch movies with, although maybe battery life and stuff like that might be a little nicer, but Go is still a great entertainment device, very solid. Yeah. So, I mean, now we have been talking about the Quest, but like Rift S is maybe not something we have been
like,
speaking
we need to
about
keep
a
in
lot,
mind
but
it's F8. It's not an Oculus event, so like the majority of it will probably be. I mean, if there is anything about VR, it will be the Quest release.
We didn't talk about
but other than
Farmville
that-
yet. I mean, is there a new iteration of Farmville coming? What are the new social features of Facebook? Come on, guys. As a
Next year
developer,
there's elections.
Is
I
there an
think that a
API?
lot of F8 is going to be about like what they're going to do to like distantiate themselves, or how they're going to like monitor fake news, and I think that's the majority of it. Because let's be fair, like Facebook has had a pretty rough time in the past couple of years, especially on that topic. So I think the majority of the event will actually.
So you don't think Rift S will be?
Yeah, I think it will be there, but I think, out of the two devices, the Quest is obviously the most exciting one. I think Rift S is legit. It's way better than I anticipated it was going to be, having tried it at PAX in Boston. I definitely want one. I definitely want that to be my headset of choice moving forward in the Rift ecosystem.
Yeah, you have no other choice with no restocking of the Rift. Like, if your warranty runs out, you got to buy it anyway.
Well, I've got two OG Rifts.
Okay. Well, so you have like a longer lifespan, but let's say technically, the longer you gotta buy one anyway.
But I think really, if you're a Rift owner already, you've got a legit setup. You've got your sensors mounted on the walls. You've invested in like cable extensions and PCI expansion ports for USBs and everything else. I think you're gonna be fine for a little while longer, and I would probably say hold out unless you're really, really craving that slight resolution bump. But I think for VR newcomers, like, this is incredible. It's going to make VR way accessible to people who just want to plug in a headset and have an experience, and then unplug it and put it in a box, and then leave it there for a few days.
I have to say, I disagree with Mike that I think as a daily driver, Rift S for me was convincing enough to pay the money and get the bump. Because I think the reason I say that is because it's like if I had different features on my fingers, like 8 different things, like comfort and resolution and head strap and sweet spot, all these things, lens, God rays, all that. They've improved all of that in Big Push. And so all of those changes combined together, although if you just focus on resolution, for instance, not much. If you just focus on all these little bits and pieces, it's maybe not solely one thing, but together it's the only headset on the market for me right now that I've experienced that does that leap, and I want to be using that headset every day. So even if I was a Rift owner and choking on the fee of paying again for a headset, the $300-400, I would do it.
That's also because you're heavily invested into the Oculus platform. So in the end, getting out of Oculus Home is going to be hard the moment you already.
Not really, not for me. I'm not, because because Oculus have us whitelisted on the platform. It means I don't pay for those games, so I don't have. My ecosystem is actually in Steam.
But if you are a regular consumer, you have to sometimes spend your well-earned money.
I see what you're saying. So an Oculus Home purchaser is probably also has an additional incentive to keep buying an Oculus headset. Of course they do.
I think next to the headset, I think the Oculus Home as a platform is very attractive, because it's the only platform besides, of course, Sony, their platform, where they spend money on making games.
Yeah, first party.
And to sort of just go back to Zim's point, although I say that if you've got a Rift, you're probably going to be happy. All I'm saying is I don't think you're missing out in a major way. Although with that, and I'll say that with the caveat that I won't go back to the original Rift myself. So it's a difficult pill to swallow, because you're essentially having the same experience with this slight improvements here, but some not so slight improvements in other areas.
And can I counterpoint and actually support you as well, Mike?
Sure, yeah.
The Index is coming. The Quest is there, right? Yeah. You've got other things to spend your money on, so choose wisely.
Yeah, but I would say, if you're a newcomer to VR and you've been waiting, you've been maybe looking at a Windows MR headset because of the accessibility and ease of use, then this is where I would say Rift S has the edge over those and really provides a better platform for you.
I think, honestly, if you're a newcomer, go for the standalone genre, because that's the way we're heading into. I think that's going to have the most impact on the VR industry in general. And if you're like this PC head, then there is a lot. Like if you're on the PC side of things, then there is a lot to pick from. There's so many headsets, and let's say the Index drops and Valve finally pushes Steam more and actually also invests, like Facebook, on games. So they ask all kinds of developers to make titles for them. Then Steam will make its comeback, and then you finally have these two behemoth platforms. Because right now, honestly, with the shelfware that gets dropped on Steam, it's hard to compete with Oculus Home. It's just too hard. But the moment Index launches, and they also spend time, money, and development on content, it's a legit competition to have.
That's all speculation, of course. We don't know anything.
But they have to. I mean, you can't tell me that Valve brings out this Index. They have these 3 games, and the rest of the developers are just sitting like, oh, hey, fun headset, but.
Okay, so if the Valve Index launches without any games, you eat another head strap.
Okay. Yes. What the heck?
Yes.
But hopefully, like like going back to the Rift S, I hope they will not they will not mention it at F8, because I still think if they separate these launches and they separate these announcements, it's better for consumers in general, because otherwise it's going to be, again, so confusing to have these 2 headsets.
Where would you launch though? Like, where would you make that next announcement? Would you just do kind of a private internet gig?
Last moment spring, I don't know.
Well, they might do it. They kind of did that before with, talking about the S anyway, versus Quest. There was kind of less of a push, so maybe they'll do that.
One last thing I want to say about the Rift S before we sort of close up the show is that, don't look at the specs alone and compare this to the Quest or the original Rift, and don't think it's legit headset. Having tried it, it is legit. That the display looks amazing. Like Zim said, they've reduced the God rays, they've reduced the screen door effect. The screen is low persistence and is very clear in terms of its clarity. It's not an OLED, fine, but it still looks incredible, and definitely like the way I want to experience games moving forward on the Rift platform.
Yeah, I think the 2 losses in it are right, like your color fidelity, like the blacks, and probably the audio solution. Those are the
audio is the biggest for me. But the other thing, a point that I forgot to mention was the refresh rate. Like 90 hertz and 80 hertz. Like, you cannot tell the difference. It's as simple as that. You cannot tell the difference.
If you want to know if you can see the difference, watch the episode from last week, you'll know why.
Yeah. Absolutely. So if you've got any questions, we've gone on quite a bit on today's show, but we had a lot of stuff to talk about. So let me remind you about the show times. If you've got any questions, put them in the chat now. We can read a couple out before we finish up. So just a reminder, this is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. Tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. Also, check out the audio version that you can listen to on your commute or as you're out and about strolling around town like I do, and you can check that out on iTunes, SoundCloud, on Anchor as well.
A very nice comment to close off with is Buck3131, who said, "Surely the DAS will taste better as it's a deluxe head strap."
And Joshua Johnson says, "Do we need to send Nathie some sauce for the headset straps?"
You guys are going to be so surprised when Arizona Sunshine comes. I'm gonna laugh I might even make a video about this moment, like going back, like, hey, let's go back into history when that moment everyone thought I was a fool, but no. But I will chew on it for sure. I don't know if I'm gonna do the Quest one though, because I don't think I get an extra strap with that, and it would be a shame if it's all chewed up and I still have to use it. No, but I still have some old straps that we can use, like this raw like Vive strap. This
that'd be so chewy,
funny smelling one, that I've been using for so long.
It's been marinating for years,
Yeah. Last but not least, also slam a like on this video and let us know you care. Would be nice. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for joining us live on the show this week. We always appreciate you joining us live. Of course, catch up with the live stream on Tuesday from all the news at F8. I'm actually going to be doing a live stream myself. Are any of you guys going to be live streaming it as well?
Yes.
For F8, you mean shared, yeah.
Yeah, like doing a reaction thing. So Zim's going to be doing it on Twitch.
I do everything live. So.
Everything live. Yeah, what a surprise.
I'm going to be doing on one of mine. So if you want to watch one of us as reactions to the show, then make sure you tune into our channels as well. Have a great week. We'll obviously be discussing all the news on next week's show, so make sure you tune in for that. Thanks again, and have a great week in VR. So for now, bye-bye for now.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See ya.